Hello, everyone. Hi. uh, okay. Well, let us see who we got. All right. Um, Let me take a look. Let us find out. We got a lot of good folks. Okay. Who do we have? We have uh see. Okay. John Gray. Hello, John Gray. Welcome back, John Gray. John Gray becoming a regular here. Matt Saigai. Hey, Matt Saigai. Dubois. Hey. Dubois here. Alyssa, another great regular. Dubois, also great regular. Actually, Matt Saigai. Most of these folks are great regulars. Lee Lane. Hello, Lee Lane. Um, Tiago is here. Hello, Tiago, another regular. All right. Who else? Who else? Macon. Hello, Macon. Welcome back, Macon. Uh Brummel. Hello, Brummel, another regular here. Macon also regular. Gosh, we have all regulars. Um that's okay, Jay Shadow. Jay Shadow, also a regular, fantastic. Um, let's see here. Who else? I missed some folks. I know I did. Demosthenes. Hello, Demosthenes. Um, okay. I know Dubois was the first in here. Okay, excellent. All right, folks. Big Braden. Hello, Big Braden, another regular. Alan. Hey, Alan. Alan, you're gonna like what we're talking about today because it has to do a bit with China, Japan. Okay, guys. Well, Hamina. Hey, Hamina's here too. Another regular. Fantastic. Okay, this is great. Although I'm in a, I'm in a very good mood. We have a depressing stuff to. I got you, Demosthenes. Excellent. We have some depressing stuff to talk about as always. I'm going to try to stream for a while today, probably 3 or more hours. Of course, you don't have to stay around if you don't want to. You'll notice, folks, that I set a uh, let's see here. I set a super chat goal of 5 for the Jester hat. Now, well, the reason I made it so high is because we are going to be talking about something kind of depressing. So I don't want to make it too easy for me to put on the Jester hat right away. But if we get like, I don't know, let's see here, like $20 or 5, I'll put on the Jester hat, and then so we'll see if we get there. If we don't, not the end of the world. Okay. So we're all, by the way, also folks, I'm streaming on Twitch if anyone's interested. I got a lot of people who subscribe there, which is great. So let us let us get into some stuff. Okay. Oh, that's awesome, Hamina. Okay, I'll take a look at that. I am making pizza. I sent you a lapse of me drawing the Jester stencil. Fantastic, Hamina. I'm excited to see that. Okay. So guys, let's get right into it. After I do my little bit here about the war crimes of Imperial Japan. I'm going to we'll do some reaction videos. I got some really good ones. I know Alyssa also sent me a speech that was done at a birdie rally. We will, and then plus some other reactions from the Discord reactions. And if anyone in here isn't in our Discord, I recommend you join it. There should be a link in the video description if you want to join our Discord. We have like 90 people in there. It's great, and if you want to recommend things for me to react to, you can put it in the reaction slot or channel. Okay. Yeah, I'm right, Big Braden. We are going to be here for a bit. Okay. Now, I will say, folks, um, Matt Saigai, excellent. Thank you. I will take a look at those. So, all right. Before we get into this, you'll notice in the stream description, I partially did this because I have a feeling it attracts more viewers, but also it's true. I put a content warning in there. I am not going to be showing you particularly disturbing images. That being said, what we're going to be talking about is brutal. It's some of the worst stuff you've probably ever heard. I'm not even joking. And I'm not going to try to disturb anyone. I do recommend, though, if you want to learn more about what we're talking about, literally just, again, be careful. But if you want to do an image search of some of the things I'm talking about, all this stuff was massively documented in images. Just be prepared for what you're going to see, etc. And even I went to the Wikipedia page and I read through it just to see how good it is. And the Wikipedia page on this stuff, especially the Nanking massacre, is very good. So if you want to hear some of the gory details that I do think people should know about that I won't be able to say fully openly on stream, I recommend you go there and look at it. Okay, Sir Bartholomew. Hey, Sir Bartholomew, welcome. Another classic here. Um, uh, Thank you, Bruh Moment, for the super chat. That is correct, Bruh Moments. That is it. Okay, that is what we're going to be mainly talking about. The RAPE of Nanking. And Veronica, hey Veronica, Alan. So Alan says the reason the reason I wasn't taught in most American schools because of how graphic it was. It is a combination of things, Alan. Yes, it is so graphic, but you can teach about the stuff without going much in depth into the graphic stuff. There's other reasons, and I think you'll see later the United States helped cover up some of these crimes. Yay! God bless America. So that might partly be the reason. So we will talk more about it. You'll see. Folks, if we get 4 more super chats or $10 more, I will put on the jester head, okay? Veronica, fantastic. Yeah. In America, we don't talk about it as much. I know, right, Alyssa? Yeah, shocking that America helped cover it up, right? Okay, anyway, not shocking, but uh, okay, okay, Lane, right? Oh, don't worry, bro. Moment. Yeah, exactly, bro. Moment. As a matter of fact, we're going to be talking about Unit 731. So, okay, let us get into it then, folks. Okay, let the horror begin. I guess I'm going to. Did you? Fantastic. That's great, Veronica. America doesn't do as great job of talking about it. We tend to focus more on the Holocaust. Again, there's reasons for this. We could debate about it. Yes, I did, Alan. I saw that he was. Uh, Thank you, Tiago. Thank you very much for the super chat. I will let you put the song I sent you through Instagram. It's an exclusive for the cult. Um, it could be a sedative for the things about to come. Thank you, Tiago. I will take a look at that. Folks, if we get $5 more or 3 more super chats, I'll put on the jester hat. Okay, thank you. All right, so let's get into it. I'm going to again, folks, brace yourselves. I know, Alyssa, it is. I agree that as you get older and you start learning about maturing is realizing some of the horrific crimes your country has committed. Okay, so let's get into it. I'm going to pull up the page here now. Okay, so I titled this slide, guys. I titled this slide "China and World War II." I really ought to have titled it "The Crimes of Imperial Japan." This is a famous image here on the first screen. That is a baby crying, covered in soot. After the Japanese bombed, I believe this was Shanghai. It also may have been Nanking. I'm not quite sure. The child's parents are right outside the frame and are not alive. Okay, we're going to talk about these things. Again, this is pretty tame image compared to a lot of the things you can find if you look this up. Uh, Again, yeah. So just be aware. I think this is some very good symbolic image here of the kind of horrors we're about to witness and talk about. Okay. All right. So looks like I think we just got another super chat here. Oh, we did not. Okay, excellent. Exactly, John Gray. We typically only hear about the Pearl Harbor and those things. And I should point out that Japan has also covered this stuff up in their history, which we're going to talk about later. It's still a big sticking point in Japan. I mean, in China and stuff, how Japan covers this stuff up. Um, oh yes, Veronica. I was going to mention comfort women as well. Okay, so let's get into it. I just need to quickly. I'm gonna pull up the chat here so I can see if we get super chats so I don't miss them. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's get going. All right, so oop, there we go. Okay, and so we shall begin. Oh, darn it! 1 second here. Ugh, that's better. All right. So, um, okay. So that's the first image here. Let's continue. All right. So if you want to learn more about this, I actually posted this in our resources channel. This woman is one of my heroes. Unfortunately, she lost her life because of how dark this stuff is. She wrote a very famous book. Her name is Iris Chang. She wrote a very, very, very famous book called the that word, I can't say it, of Nanking. And it detailed the forgotten Holocaust of World War II is sort of the subtitle here. That's her on the right. She was a historian and journalist. This stuff was extremely traumatizing for her to read about. She was also harassed by Japanese nationalists. Ultimately, this resulted in her developing a very deep depression, and she unalived herself in a moment. And so this was a historian who literally sacrificed her own life, essentially, and her own mental health to get the truth out there. She is a hero. Um, yeah. Okay. So always remember Iris Chain. She's like a hero for a lot of historians. Okay. Um, right, Tiago. I don't know if I want to make it funny, but yes. Okay. All right. So just be aware of this. This is a great book. I again posted it in the resources section of our channel. Okay. Okay. Let's continue here. Um, so let's talk about this real fast. As you all know, I'm going to give you a bit of a background, to sort of leading up to what happens where we get to the real dark stuff. Okay. So Imperial Japan. All right. Japan had been rapidly industrializing. So it had been building factories. It had been creating railroads, doing a lot of things European powers have been doing to build up its economy, well, also oftentimes with the help of Europeans and Americans. To build up its economy. Okay. And if you notice here, I put two images up here on the right. I love Japanese art. And these are two examples of, I forget the name of the kind of painting, but Japanese art depicting some of this industrialization. You can see a factory up on the top, and you can see a lot of the folks there still in traditional dress, but then but they're in a factory, and then on the bottom is a steamship from Japan. So they rapidly industrialized. But if for those who don't know, Japan is not that large of a place. I mean, it's big, but it's not that big, and it's a series of islands. So it didn't really have access to the resources it needed to fully industrialize or industrialize the way it wanted to. Okay, so that's an important thing to remember why we're talking about why this happened. They needed resources. At least that's how they viewed it. They needed resources to be able to industrialize and make their economy more industrial and larger. And as Japan industrialized, it led to a massive population growth. As a matter of fact, I highlighted it here. Japan went from around 30 million people to 65 million people in less than 100 years. So it more than doubled in less than 100 years. That is a massive growth in population. And I should point out that, again, Japan is very small, not much land available there for farming. So after this population explosion, Japan could no longer feed its population from its own farmland. So it had to import a bunch of foodstuffs. So just think about this, right? I'm in a quick review here. Japan felt that it needed resources to further industrialize. It also had a massive population explosion, and it didn't have enough land within Japan to feed itself. It had to import food. Okay, now that's the economic dimension of what we're talking about. Now let's go on to the next slide here. This was made worse. All right, so think about those economic dimensions, and then we can add this. All right, so Japan was united as a single country after a series of pretty brutal civil wars. I'm not going to go into it. Tom Cruise in The Last Samurai, not a good movie, but it is. I mean, it's an entertaining movie. It's not very historically accurate, but you can see some of this stuff in that. All right, if you're interested. There was a series of civil wars there, and eventually, the country was united under a single emperor named Meiji. And in order to overcome a lot of the divisions within Japan, uh, that had from that old Civil War period. The Japanese government promoted a extreme hyper nationalism mixed with a Nazi-like belief in Japanese racial superiority. Okay, right, Big Braden. Yes, I'm telling you, Tom Cruise did not unite Japan. Um, okay, correct. Fox Emblem. It was called Meiji, the Meiji Restoration, where Meiji was restored to the phone. Welcome, by the way, Fox Emblem. Okay. And so they fostered in order to sort of, and a historian famously called this, you'll notice at the top, I guess you can't see it because of the topic thing, but I say the mad nationalism of Imperial Japan. Folks, we're talking like m- crazy nationalism, like extreme nationalism, almost worse than the Nazis to an extent. I'm not going to really do apples to oranges here, but yeah, like I said, extreme hypernationalism mixed with a Nazi-like belief in Japanese racial superiority. Okay. Um, so, okay. So just know that the economic things going on, and then on top of the nationalism. As a matter of fact, in 1890, the Japanese government, the emperor, issued something called the Imperial Rescript, which was a document that sort of outlined absolutely, John Gray. Yeah, a lot of the folks in Japan at this time were still the sons of samurai, of people who were samurai. Japan was very fascinating and industrialized very quickly. So it still had a lot of those older traditions mixed in with the modern, which you'll see kind of starts to have some issues. Okay, so this 1989, this 1890 imperial rescript by the emperor was a document that basically outlined what students and schools were supposed to learn. And Japanese teachers were expected to memorize this imperial rescript every morning, and then recite it by heart every morning to their classes. Okay. There are rumors, historians have not been able to verify this, but there were reports from the time that if a Japanese teacher failed to recite this correctly, they would oftentimes commit ritual unaliving of themselves in order because of the dishonor associated with saying the rescript incorrectly in front of a classroom. We don't have proof of this. I would not be surprised though. That's sort of a tradition in Japanese culture. The idea of if you are dishonored, if there's a horrible dishonor upon you, you end your own life to maintain your honor. Okay, so this was a very strict thing. The number one lesson that schools in 1890 in Japan were teaching their students was that obedience to authority was more important than anything else. They didn't even care that much about the academics. Um, they were mainly teaching students obedience to authority, and they used corporal punishment if the students did not obey authority. They would beat their students. Yeah, exactly, Demosthenes. You're right. And Hamina, you're right too. Japan can get really messed up when it comes to honor and suicide. There's still lots of issues in Japan today with that. Seppuku, yeah, okay. Demosthenes, especially a certain kind of seppuku called harikiri. I'm not going to go into it for the sake of the stream. You all should look it up if you'd like. Okay. The number one lesson of schools was obedience to authority above all else. A lot of times, a large number of these teachers were actually in the military. Okay. Children were taught from an early age how to handle guns and taught about the racial superiority of the Japanese people, especially compared to the inferiority of the Koreans and the Chinese. All right. We're talking from a very young age, very young age. So you have this mix of hyper mad nationalism with a sense of racial superiority, obedience to authority figures, uh, uh, and the economic things that we've been talking about. We can kind of see where this is heading. And for those who have been here before, when I've talked about the different facets of fascism, just while we're looking through, start noticing some of those things. Okay, noticing the similarities between rising fascism, even in our day society, and some of the things you see here. Okay, in one instance that I read in a document once, okay, just to show you how this played out in a classroom, there was a Japanese class where where the students were dissecting frogs. Okay, there was one boy, and this is a quote. All right. Um, One boy didn't want to dissect the frog. And the reason, by the way, folks, he didn't want to dissect the frog is he didn't want to kill this thing. The frogs were alive. He didn't want to do it. He was a he had empathy for the frog. Okay. His teacher then yelled at him when the boy said he didn't want to dissect the frog and said, "Why are you crying about one lousy frog? When you get older, you will have to kill 100 or 200." And then the last word there is a slur for Chinese people, which I will not say on stream. Um, yeah, you can see here, this was a teacher talking to a child saying words like that, okay? Um, Basically telling the student, well, you're going to have to learn to kill because you're going to eventually going to go have to kill Chinese people. So you better get used to it. All right. I mean, this is the kind of brutal, insane nationalism mixed with racial superiority that I'm talking about at this time period. All right. Okay. Um, let's move on. So as we have been talking, okay, I put here at the top, hypernationalism plus need for resources plus economic depression equals a shitstorm because boy did it. Okay. So in the 1920s, the bottom fell out of the Japanese economy. As a matter of fact, folks, the bottom fell out of the global economy, right? Because of the Great Depression. And a bunch of far right wing military officers. Hello, Ziltoid. Welcome, Ziltoid. Um, Okay, a lot of far right wing military officers started screaming at the top of their lungs that Japan needed to conquer new territories abroad to secure its future, and eventually the civil society began echoing the same sentiments. It was taught in schools and stuff. One of the worst people in this regard was this guy on the right here, Hideki Tojo, who would later be found guilty of war crimes. Absolute monster, fascist POS here. Okay, horrific man. The guy on the left here is Emperor Hirohito, who largely was not punished for any of the stuff he did during the war. But it used to be that historians said, well, he was kind of a figurehead. It wasn't his fault. Oh, no, 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 no. We now know that he was deeply involved in these things, and he really should have been hung as a war criminal too, or hanged as a war criminal, but he was not. Another monster. But he wasn't honestly as bad as some of the guys like Hideki Tojo. Okay. Regardless, the government of Japan facing growing violence from the far right, because a lot of these far right military types, yeah, yep, Big Braden, you're right. Hirohito was insane. So a lot of these military guys who were yelling about Japan to do this, they started forming paramilitaries and doing violence in the streets. Again, think about comparisons to fascism here. The government of Japan, facing growing violence from the far right, granted them more and more concessions to the point where the Japanese army and navy essentially controlled the government. Some historians has described it as an army with a state, as in like the army controlled everything. It just happened to have a government it controlled, right? The top authority was the army and the navy. Okay. Um, uh, so the army and navy basically ended up controlling the government and can operate and basically was able to operate independently of the civil government. I mean, that is crazy. That's a bad sign. Okay. If your military is operating separately and without taking orders from the civil government, you're going to have issues, right? So this was sort of some historians have described this as sort of a fascist takeover. Again, this happened during a depression where there was a lot of doubt in the government's ability to handle things. You can see the patterns here. Okay. Um, one second, folks. I'm just going to take a look here. Okay. Excellent. So let's move on. The next part to this, we've kind of set the stage here. All right. Meanwhile, so while all this stuff is happening in Japan, let's talk about China a little bit. Now, there's a lot. I am going to oversimplify the China stuff for the sake of not only time but for clarity. Okay, Radon, hey Radon, welcome back, Radon. Hope you had a great birthday. Okay, so, meanwhile, in China, right, this is what was going on. All right. So China was a much, much, much larger country than Japan, had a much larger population than Japan. We're talking like hundreds upon hundreds of millions of people. Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome on Twitch there. We are Radon. We're doing some history here. Okay. 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 China had some major internal problems. All right. there were a series of deeply unfair treaties signed between the West and China, where basically the West had imperialized and colonized and was controlled China economically and stuff. And this had largely left China economically stunted and mired in poverty, even though by any account it shouldn't have been. It had a massive population base, had tons of resources. Alas, the Europeans kind of made sure that didn't happen. All right. So the government, partially because of these issues, was very corrupt. Was inefficient and hobbled by infighting. Okay. Um, and by 1911, things begin to change a bit because the old Qing dynasty was overthrown and eventually united in a revolution called the 1911 Revolution, united in a national republic, a so called republic. It really wasn't a republic, it was more of an authoritarian state run by this guy named Chiang Kai shek. Okay. This guy here on the right. But the country was generally united. Okay, under Chiang Kai-shek, who is another fascist POS. There's a lot of them in this, okay? And Chiang Kai-shek famously saying that he would gladly kill 1,000 innocent people if it meant killing one communist. So this guy was a monster. He killed hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people himself. Okay, alas. Oh, I get it, what's up? I do, right? It interests me how people have this weird respect for Imperial Japan. I understand the weird people get, but it's still really weird to me. Hey, what's up? I agree with you. And we're actually going to get into why that still is there, what's up? Like because there is a lot of weird respect for it, despite the massive war crimes, criminality, and things like that. Okay. All right. So that is what's happening in China. Um, don't mean to derail. So John Gray, don't mean to derail. Super curious. A lot of the food, John Gray, came from India. It also came from places like some of it actually did come from China. They actually conquered Korea and were using some Korean food production for those purposes. Some of it came from all over the place. Actually, some of it came from Europe, Russia, wherever they could get it from. Okay, so yeah, okay. All right, let's go on. So as again, folks, I'm setting the scene. Please, uh, I guess, have some patience for me, okay? Um, okay. So Japan saw an opening here, okay? The military who now controls the government in this part, okay, saw an opening because China was weak and China was now uniting under Chiang Kai-shek. And I haven't even mentioned Mao Zedong, which Miao Zor just uh, mentioned in chat here. And I'll maybe talk about Mao Zedong a little bit later. Okay. And Japan is like, oh crap, they've united. We need to take this opportunity to attack them while before they become more powerful. Okay. So concerned about a united and strengthened China, the Japanese military decided to make its move, staging a false flag operation. I won't go into it. You can look it up, but they staged this sort of false flag operation and used it as an excuse to seize this place up here called Manchuria, right up here. It's this area north of Korea. Um, you're right, Fox Emblem. You know, sometime I'll do a stream on Mao and the Cultural Revolution and the other stuff that happened. Um, Okay. So we will so Manchuria is up here, and Manchuria is full of resources. Remember what I said, the Japanese were looking for resources to help fuel their industrial growth. Manchuria has steel, it has coal, it has a bunch of important resources for industrialization. So at that point, they seized Manchuria after this false flag operation as an excuse and took it underneath their control and turned it into a puppet state. And what was funny about this, folks, is that the Japanese government, the military, was shocked that China was actually upset about this. They're like, "What? You you're you're upset that we stole all this resource-rich territory from you and killed tons of your civilians?" Okay, so they were shocked about it, and of course, China was not happy, and they basically began an all-out war between China and Japan. All right? So this is where we're gonna get into some really dark stuff, okay? Really, really dark stuff. And that's why I have the content warning up here, folks. So I've kind of introduced you to what is happening. why now Japan is attacking China, and we're now going to talk about what this resulted in within Japan, okay, or within China. And that's why I have a content warning up here. I am not going to be showing you particularly graphic photos. I do recommend, if you're interested, look up photos yourselves. All this stuff is documented, okay? Exactly, John Gray. They were extremely egotistical, like they had this sense of nationalism that was extremely egotistical and stuff. They were shocked that anyone would be upset about what they're doing, okay? So let's get into it then. The horrors of Imperial Japan, all right? So a lot of disturbing stuff on this page. So let me go through it, all right? So as Japan invaded China, um, okay. The Japanese had a much smaller military than the Chinese military, but the Chinese military was pretty inept, was not very well supplied, was full of a lot of conscripts that didn't have much experience. Despite that, it was still a massive struggle for Japan, and they lost thousands upon thousands of troops trying to take cities like Shanghai, which turned into kind of like a Stalingrad type situation. It was a bloodbath, okay? But again, it was almost an impossible task. Even though the Japanese military had better technology and stuff, they just did not have enough troops to do this. It was kind of an irrationalist attempt at seizing China. Regardless, it gets bad. Okay, so after struggling to take the city of Shanghai, which they also bombed the hell out of, killing thousands of civilians, okay, the Japanese wanted revenge because remember, folks, these Japanese soldiers have been trained since they were young to think of the Chinese as subhuman. Correct. Absolutely, Foxem. When the Chinese military at this time was sort of more feudal, was not nearly as industrialized as the Japanese military. Okay, so after having a struggle to take Shanghai and losing lots of troops, the Japanese wanted revenge for this because, like I said, they had been trained basically since birth, or since they were young, to hate the Chinese, that they were racially inferior, that Japan was better above all else, and they had been trained to kill. So as they marched towards Nanking, which was the capital of the so-called Republic of China, they went on a killing spree that I can't even fully go into. This is considered, I'm not even joking, by historians, one of the worst series of war crimes in human history. Even worse than some of the things the Nazis did. I will go through some of the points here, okay? They had killing competitions. You can see here on the right, this is an image, a Japanese poster. You know what? I'm going to turn off the chat, so you guys, so you can see it better here for a second. Okay. This image on the right is a poster celebrating, or basically saying, it says here in Japanese, praising these two guys because they were able to kill 100 civilians the fastest with a sword. They had competitions where they would see who could kill 100 civilians with a sword the fastest. So that's one example. And that is pretty horrific. Yeah, Brahmo, you're right. Okay, this is one of those ads from the newspaper bragging about this. Worse for folks. This gets worse. I know if that sounds bad, it gets worse. There's a reason why that I at the top of the screen here, I title it, and I'm actually going to get rid of this too so you can see it better. The RAPE of Toy, welcome back. Okay. The RAPE of Nanking, because that happened at a rate unknown in history. Okay. There was a mass amount of assault going on of women, of children, even of infants. I mean, we're talking some of the most disgusting stuff you can read about. Again, I'm not going to go into it, but if you all want to look it up, do so with caution. Okay. And we're talking absolute horror. There were the violence was so horrific on the outside of the Japanese that there were literal piles of corpses, piles upon piles of corpses. Um, and that would often be hidden in photographs. When Japanese officials came to visit Nanking, they would kind of push the piles off to the side and take pictures. Um, Horrific. I probably shouldn't have written it on here, but babies were being bayoneted. There was more to that I'm not going to go into regarding competitions regarding that. But I'm not going to go into it. Just know the horror was horrific. The Yangtze River, okay, which was The Yangtze River, which is the river that runs through Nanking or Nanjing, literally ran red with blood. And it got so bad, it was so clogged up with corpses that the river stopped running in some places because there were too many bodies in it. If you think I'm exaggerating, I am not. Okay, this is some of the most monstrous stuff you'll ever hear. Okay. Civilians were strafed by the Air Force. So, strafing is where an Air Force fighter comes flying in and then just machine guns at the ground. So there were Japanese Air Force fighters coming in, strafing fields of civilians just for fun. And I put it in quotes because that's what they say in the documents. We were doing it for fun. Um, they didn't take prisoners; they just executed anyone really. There were lots of incidents of very sadistic torture, which I will not go into here, especially regarding women. Again, if you want to know the details, God help you, but look it up. I will not tell you about it. Okay. Uh, and there were indiscriminate bombings of cities, just wiping out cities, bombing them. Okay. I mean, we are, yeah, they did absolutely horrific things. Okay. And Fox Emblem, as per the people responsible for this entire thing, got off scot-free. Yep. You're right. And Fox Emblem, you're going to be hearing later how America actually helped cover up some of these crimes later. And the Japanese government still refuses to acknowledge it to this day, which we'll talk about. Okay. Meowzord says, okay, um, John Gray, first of all, John Gray, I knew about the horrors of the Unit 731, but I just genuinely didn't think that it went this far. Was truly um, a truly an ideology shared by most of the, it really was shared by most of the Meowzord. My wife's grandmother is from China. She was interned by the Japanese as a girl. Oh my God. That is horrific, Meowzord. I am honestly surprised she survived. Very few people who were interned by the Japanese survived. Okay. All right. Let's continue. All right. Um, so that was one aspect of the crimes that the Japanese Empire committed in China. As a matter of fact, folks, this shocked me when I learned about it. It got so bad, okay, that there was a Nazi official, literally a ideological Nazi in Nanking at the time. His name was John Rabb. And he was so disgusted by what the Japanese Imperial Army was doing that he set up a safe zone called the Nanking Safety Zone. And he is credited with saving at least 10,000 lives by giving women, children, and men refuge there so they wouldn't be killed by the Japanese. And as I just said, he was a Nazi, and he was an ideological Nazi. He was not like this guy who thought that he didn't really care. He thought that, like, Chinese people were racially inferior. He hated Jewish people. Big fan of Hitler. He even wrote Hitler on several occasions, begging Hitler to help stop the slaughter, which is hilarious. It kind of shows that he is really has no idea, or he's just an idiot. I don't know. But he actually saved 10,000 lives. We've gotten to the point, folks, and what I'm talking about, that even a Nazi is upset about it and is trying to save people's lives. Here's an image here of John Rabb. He's in the center at a health center in this safe zone, okay, where he was helping people. Absolutely, John Gray. I mean, it really is unfathomable when you learn about it. Okay, so I just wanted to add that note about this Nazi guy because Jesus Christ, I mean Jesus Christ. Yeah, it did, Fox Emblem. That Japan did have its own Operation Paperclip. Okay, let's go on here. So this gets worse, folks. And again, something you should look up if you want to learn more about it. I will not talk much about it, or I will not go much detail. And some of the image they took photos of all this stuff. So if you want nightmares, you can look it up. Look up Unit 731. Okay, I'm gonna eat a grape here because I'm hungry and I need some energy for this. Okay, so that brings us to Unit 731. Okay. So the Japanese military formed a unit called 731. It was responsible for large-scale biological and chemical warfare research, as well as massive amounts of human experimentation. Yes, like what the Nazis did, experimenting on living subjects. Um, and Yeah, and we did pardon all these guys, John Gray. Okay, so at the top here is an image of some of these Unit 731 people carrying a person about to be experimented on. Again, this is not a this is a very, very, very tame photo. It looks like something out of a horror film. Okay, very tame photo based off what you can find if you look online. Okay, and at the bottom here, the image here at the bottom is the facility where these things happened. You can go visit it today. It is now a museum. Um, okay. So what did they do in these experimentations? Okay. The activities of Unit 731 included things like infecting prisoners with deadly diseases, conducting live vivisections. That is where you operate on someone while they're alive. Okay. Performing organ harvesting, testing hypobaric chambers. So putting people in chambers where they would test out various pressures and stuff. Again, I'm not going to go too much into it. Amputating limbs and exposing victims to chemical agents and explosives. I am not even covering all the things they did. Again, for the sake of the stream, I won't, but just look into it if you're more interested. Prisoners, and by the way, folks, I've actually seen these logs. I do not speak Japanese, so I had to look at translations, but um, they would not, and this is classic when it comes to sort of genocidal type violence or mass violence, especially done by fascist regimes. They will often not, they will dehumanize the people. Yeah, Alyssa. Alyssa, it's not talked about a lot in American schools, okay? In these logs where they logged all these experiments, they would refer to their Chinese prisoners, um, okay, as logs. LOGS, logs, like pieces of wood. They didn't even call them human. They would like say, we got 50 logs in today, 10 logs died yesterday. Okay. This sort of dehumanizing language, very classic in these sort of regimes. Okay. Um, it is estimated that about 14,000 people died in just experiments that Unit 731 did. Um, and the bioweapons they developed, by the way, they developed weapons, for example, ways to poison wells and stuff with disease. They went outside the facility and went to Chinese villages and would put things like the plague or smallpox into wells, and then they would stand back and watch as the whole village died of these things. Um, I know, right, Alyssa? It really is hard to imagine the kind of brutality and the evil here. And so 14,000 people around are estimated to have died in the facility, and then around 200,000 others are thought to have died from the use of these biological weapons and their experimentation with these weapons on the Chinese population. Um, okay. We're through sort of the worst parts here. We're really, by the way, folks, we're only talking about what Japan was doing in China. There were other massive crimes going on across the Japanese Empire, across the Pacific. Okay, but this mainly is focusing on China. All right, let's go on here. Here we have. I took a. No, I didn't take this. I found this online, but this is a record from one of these experiments. Thank God, no one. I doubt anyone here can speak Japanese. Thank God, you don't have to hear what it says. But this was an experiment where they were testing out the effects of what is it called? Cold. Ah, frostbite. The effects of frostbite on the body. I won't go into it, but these are the technical recordings of the scientists about the results of those experiments. Okay. Um, okay. All right. All right. Ultimately, now we're kind of I'm moving on past these crimes. Let's get into the aftermath of this and how it's remembered today and what can we learn from it, okay? So, Japan was ultimately defeated in China. Like I said, one historian famously said that invading China or the Japanese invasion in China was like or no, I'm sorry, it was actually Mao that said this, Mao Zedong. He said that, when the Japanese invaded China, it was like them trying to fill up a jug with water that has holes in it because it's just too big of a country. There's too many people. The Japanese could not do it. Despite having a more industrialized military, despite China's sort of military backwardness, they could not do it. So Japan was ultimately defeated in China. This was also partially because they also attacked Pearl Harbor and they were fighting the war on multiple fronts. They overexpanded. They lost. Okay, what a shame. Okay, I'm joking there. Okay, as in like sarcastic there. Okay, the Japanese military was outnumbered 10-1 in China. I mean, so it was amazing that they did as well as they could, but again, they were kind of doomed to failure from the very beginning. Most historians would agree with that. Okay, they failed, and as we all know, hello London, hello London. As we know, the war ended essentially with America dropping 2 nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We can go into this more, but Japan lost. Okay, Macy, it's my fault, Macy. I changed the time. I actually sent a message to you in Discord about it. I apologize. It was my fault, Macy. So please forgive me. I started a bit earlier. Okay. All right. So just to show you here, I've shown you this chart before. The Soviet Union undoubtedly lost the most people during World War II. You'll notice that China is number 2 here. And China actually lost more civilians. Well, uh, around the same number of civilians that the Soviet Union did. You'll see here that altogether, the Chinese lost around 20 million people. Okay, 20 million people. That is an incomprehensible number, okay, to the Japanese onslaught. And yes, if you're wondering, that is far more than died, for example, in the Holocaust. Okay, we're talking, this is why it's called the Asian Holocaust. And again, we don't talk about it much. Massive number of deaths, and the vast majority of those were civilians. Okay. Uh, so, okay. So, knowing all this, okay, the horror that the Japanese Empire visited on China, unlike Germany. So after World War II, Germany, yeah, okay, Germany, um, has done a great job in remembering the Holocaust and World War II. They talk about it a lot. If our friend here, our German friend, is in here, over there on Twitch, I'm sure he would agree with me. Germany talks a lot about World War II and the Holocaust. They've done a great job at not doing historical revisionism. Japan's the exact opposite. So there have been multiple occasions where the Japanese government has challenged historical accounts in school textbooks, um, and kind of covering it up, and trying to hide the criminality of the Japanese Empire. All right. I would do, when I was teaching in the classroom, I would do an activity where I would have my students read an American textbook account of Nanking and a Japanese textbook account of Nanking. And trust me, the Japanese account makes it sound like it was all daisies and sunshine and flowers. Okay, pretty horrific downplaying of mass slaughter. Um, and beginning in the late 1990s, there was a government-backed effort to pressure publishers to remove descriptions of wartime atrocities and to promote a nationalist narrative. Um, um, uh, a nationalist narrative of Japan's past. Okay. Thank you, Jude Rempel. Thank you very much. Thank you also, Cad Doobies, for following. Okay. Okay. So they have tried to cover it up multiple times. They've tried to edit the textbooks. I think it was Veronica and Natalia who mentioned something else the Japanese military did in Korea, especially. Also, someone in China was the Japanese military brought a bunch of women, uh, Korean civilians, Japanese civilians, or Chinese civilians, women into sexual slavery, and they were called comfort women, and they would follow the military around, and you can guess what the purpose of that they were. And lots of times the Japanese government completely hides that from the textbooks. If you ask them, it never happened. Okay. um, as recently as the 2010s, Shinzo Abe, who's a very a monstrous nationalist also. He pushed for a resurgence in government-backed efforts to promote this revisionism and remove official accounts from the textbooks. And on the right here, there is a shrine in Japan. Okay, it's down here. What is it called? I should know this. The Shinuki Shrine. If someone could look it up, perhaps real fast, it would be helpful. But if not, it's okay. It's down here on the bottom, and this shrine is there to honor. Thank you, London World. Okay, so that's okay. Um, that's you on Twitch. Okay, so this shrine it was built to honor soldiers who died in previous wars in Japanese history, including around 2 million soldiers and generals accused credibly of war crimes, vicious war crimes. Hideki Tojo. Okay. Thank you very much, Macon. Yasukuni. Thank you. It's the Yasukuni Shrine in Japan. And including honoring monsters like Hideki Tojo, um, other ones, Nagumo, a lot of very horrific people. And for a very long time, every year, Japanese prime ministers would go to this shrine and do a ritual honoring these people. Okay. Up here at the top, you can see an incident of that where these Japanese officials coming from the government came to the shrine and did an honorary ceremony honoring this. Okay. Um, and it has now I want you to imagine, folks, you're a Chinese person or a Korean person, and every year you see stories about how the Japanese prime minister and his cabinet goes to the Yasukuni Shrine and honors the war criminals who slaughtered your own people. So lastly here, I see down here, China has frequently been enraged by Japan's refusal to acknowledge its crimes. It is one of those things that historically has been a major sticking point between relations between Japan and China. Now, there's a lot more to this. There are geopolitical reasons that they're not fans of each other. But this is one of the big sort of thorns in the side of that relationship. And the Japanese government just refuses to acknowledge it, refuses to apologize, refuses to do anything. It's a really big issue in Japan. And I will say, folks, I love Japan. I want one of the places I want to visit is Japan. But every country, I mean, this is one of those horrific things. Okay. Yeah, you never do RBP, you never do. Yeah, you're right. Fox Emblem, you're right. Chinese Korean or one of the many Japanese families who have relatives still alive who lived through. Yeah, yeah. They did, and I don't know. Do I have another one here? Okay, this is the last page, but let me tell you some things here. You're right. Imperialist Japan was also. You're right, Fox Emblem was also imperial, very brutal to its own population, monstrously so. Yeah. Okay. And let me point out, folks, the United States, after the end of this war, attempted to cover up and hide Unit 731's activities. They were more worried about communism and things like that. And Japan was to be an ally, bulwark against the Soviet Union and stuff. So they helped cover up a lot of the crimes as Unit 731. As a matter of fact, they allowed all those scientists to sort of go free um, and escape prosecution. There were some folks like Hideki Tojo was tried, found guilty, and executed for his crimes in what was a similar kind of Nuremberg trial type situation in the Pacific Theater that also never gets talked about. But a lot of these crimes got excused. Hirohito, the Emperor of Japan, remained in power. Um, yeah, you're right, Macon. I mean, Japan is a great place to visit. That's why I really want to go there. It's beautiful. Tokyo is one of the safest, cleanest cities in the world. So I don't want anyone to think this. We're talking about a government here, a horrific government that no longer exists, and the current government needs to be better about recognizing it. Right, toy, toy, toy. Oh no, the communists. Okay, yeah. So again, the horror here is really unimaginable and the United States helped cover it up. So that is the story of the crimes of Imperial Japan that you may not have learned about in school. Um, very brutal stuff. Okay, guys, let me see what we got here. Thank you all for bearing with me through that torturous discussion. All right, you guys. So if we get $5 more or 3 more super chats, I will put on the jester hat. Thank you all for going through that with me. I'm going to put up my face here now. All right, folks. Um, oh, well, the chat disappeared. Not sure why, but it did. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, Alyssa. I know. Hey, good evening, Mithril. Hello, hello. So that is the story of Imperial Japan. Just something else to be aware of. We do talk now, folks. Let me. I'm going to ask you all a question here. This is debated. Do we know? Can we guess? Um, uh, can we guess, folks? Why it is that this stuff doesn't get talked about as much in American schools compared to, for example, the Holocaust. There are theories about this. One of them has to do with race. Okay, do you see where I'm going with that? Another one has to do with Japan being sort of a modern day ally. Um, yeah, no, you're right, London. There was a fear of communism, and at the time, let's be honest, a lot of those communist regimes were horrifically brutal. Okay. Um, rope kittens, that's very possible. Okay, it's very possible. That's another theory. Rope kittens. Rope kitten says because we nuked them. Yeah, because one of the things here that is some historians say is that the United States didn't want to direct negative attention towards themselves for their war crimes, so they may not have talked about as much about Japanese war crimes. We don't know, but there are a number of factors that may have gone into us not talking about this. Um, yeah, we do. We do idolize, yeah, Macy, their current success in industry. And hey, like I said, Japan is a great place. This happened quite a while ago. I mean, not that long ago, but this, but this is just a very fascinating thing. We never really talk about. Okay. Um, all right, you guys. Oh, thank you, Demosthenes. Thank you. Okay, well, Demosthenes, he got us. Lets me put on the jester hat, and I'm glad I get to put it on now because it would have been kind of awkward to have on the jester hat while talking about that stuff. So, put on the jester hat. Marcus, Marcus, first of all, welcome to chat. Um, Thank you for the super chat. Marcus says, I managed to study abroad in Japan during the summer of 2019 before COVID. I did a paper on Shinzo Abe and his administration. It was very telling. Marcus, if you don't mind, would you tell us more about that? What was telling about it? He was a nationalist. Could you just tell us more? You don't have to, but I'm curious. I think we'd all be curious to hear what you discovered when you did that. Um, okay, one second. All right, there we go. London. So London says, I'm more learning we could have solved it differently, but I still understand both perspectives. London, I do agree with you, and I want to remind folks that the American fear of communism was not only a fear of ideological communism, it was a competition between two growing empires. The Soviet Union was an empire, and it was aggressive, and it was trying to expand, just while the United States was trying to expand. So a lot of those communist movements were, in fact, linked to Soviet Union's attempts at imperial domination and expansion. So this was not. It is more complicated than just saying America didn't like communism. There's a lot of dimensions to this. So London, I agree with you. Okay. Um, all right. That being said, a lot of the times when America did intervene to quote unquote stop communism, it was things that weren't even communist and or were very lightly left wing uh, or were independent communism. Okay, yeah, exactly, Fox Emblem, and this is why, folks, I'm a socialist, but not a fan of the Soviet Union at all. Zero. I don't like empires. I don't like a brutal dictatorial empire who slaughters its own people. Okay. All right. So, all right, guys. So let me put up a new goal here, and then we'll get into some of those reactions. So we'll do 3 super chats, and I'll put on the caller. I know it says 5, but there's no 3 option here. Uh, just a caller after 3. Okay. All right. Charcoal. Okay. So let's go on now to our next little thing here. Um, Thank you again, Demosthenes, for the morale booster there. Uh, Hey, thank you, Marcus, for responding here. Marcus, in response to Marcus's previous statement about writing a paper on Shinzo Abe, Marcus says his stance on Article 9 of the of the Japanese Constitution, the expansion of the National Security Council, and the enhancement of the Japanese self-defense forces. Yes. So, folks, after World War II, Japan had a constitution that basically it was a pacifist constitution. It limited Japan to a very small armed forces, and the constitution itself was basically pacifist. Okay, but very recently, Japan, not very recently, within the last 20 or so years, Japan has been sort of dismantling those portions of its constitution and removing the Article 9 of the Constitution, or pushing back against it, and expanding the National Security Council and enhancing the Japanese military. A lot of this has to do with the fear of China rising, and the United States loves it. We love watching and helping Japan's military rise because we view them as a bulwark against China, and Russia. It's just very interesting. Japan is going through some very interesting things right now, and Shinzo Abe being sort of the avatar of those things. All right, guys. Let me what I'm going to do here real fast. I'm going to fix the multi-chat. I don't know why it's there we go. Blah, blah, blah. Refresh cast of the current page. Okay, that should do it. Well, it should soon at least. Oh well, I don't really need it up there. It's not the end of the world, I guess. Okay, so oh yes. Oh, thank you, Tiago. One last thing, folks. One last thing. Okay, about all of this. Thank you, Tiago. This reminds me. Remember, I talked about Chiang Kai-shek, that guy who was a monster, who sort of created the Republic of China. And he ultimately, so a civil war had broken out in China between Chiang Kai-shek, his nationalists, okay, the nationalists, and the communists underneath Mao Zedong. This was during the Japanese invasion. And Chiang Kai-shek was focused on destroying the communists, but eventually he and Mao decided to make a truce and turn together to face the Japanese together. Even though they hated each other, Japan was so bad that they put down their arms and helped each other to fight the Japanese. Eventually, Chiang Kai-shek lost that battle. And he took his against the communists, and he took his army and he fled to an island, a Chinese island called Taiwan, or called what is it, Saipai? Okay, and he formed his own government there that he called the Chinese Republic. Does this make sense to folks? We probably have heard a lot about China wanting Taiwan back, because to China, Taiwan is an original part of China. It is just being occupied by a group of rebels who fled from mainland China and moved to Taiwan. Now, this is complicated, but that goes into I'm sorry, you're right, Formosa. Um, okay, so yeah, we used to be called Formosa. So again, um, that is uh, that is why there's a lot of tension over Taiwan. There's other reasons too. Okay, all right. So let's go on to the next thing here now. Yeah, you're right. Him losing to the Sparrowman. Yeah, Mao was a genius when it comes to fighting militarily. He wrote a book called The Little Red Book, which was no, Guerrilla Tactics, I think is what it was. I can't remember. I get it mixed up, but he was very good at fighting guerrilla in a guerrilla warfare style thing. Okay, so yeah, they do. Yeah, toy. You're right. You lived in China, and they take Taiwan being China very seriously. And folks, historically, to give you an analogy here, imagine what would have happened if the Confederacy in the United States was defeated, and then the head of the Confederacy took an army, went to Hawaii, seized it, and created its own government, even though the war at the end of the war. Do we think that the United States would want to take that island back? It isn't. So this is not a perfect analogy, but for the Chinese, you can understand how they view it that way. That's sort of how they view it. All right. You're right, Fox Emblem. Yeah, you're very right about that. I wouldn't necessarily say the Confederacy ever died, okay? But that you can understand why that is sort of a why the Chinese government has that sort of feeling there. I'm not excusing the aggression that they want to do against the people of Taiwan. The people of Taiwan, if you ask them today, they don't want to be part of China. They kind of want to stay in their current state. But you can understand the sort of thought there. Okay, all right, guys. Let's go on now to some reactions. All right. I do want to let me pull up here this good stuff. All right. Reactions. By the way, while I'm doing this, folks, for those that are watching and if you'd like to comment, please subscribe to the channel. And then in 5 minutes, you'll be able to comment. There it is. Okay. Or you can help support my channel by becoming a member for as little as 99 cents a month. You can help support what I do here. And you could also support me on Patreon by becoming a Patreon for as little as $5 a month. All right. Or you can go over on Twitch and watch me there as well, because I'm now set up on Twitch at Socialist Teacher. Are we on the wrong side of history? Let's see here. Ooh, okay. I'm going to watch this short real fast. I will also watch, oh, Meowsword has a good one too. Oh, you know what I do? I want to watch the one Meowsword sent yesterday. First, though, let me just do this short that I found from Alyssa. Are we on the wrong side of history? I'm going to take a look here. Okay, a second. All right, let me pull this up. So this is just a TikTok short. I have no idea what it's about. We will quickly find out. Application audio capture. Can you all hear this?
That H-men gave to the German people and troops. Couldn't understand what they were saying, but boy.
Can you guys hear that? Can you hear it?
Menacing.
I know it's a bit, I'm going to turn it up. Okay, good. Thank you. I'll turn it up. It's kind of hard to hear. Let's listen. So here we go. This is from Alyssa here. Thank you, Alyssa.
We all grew up listening to the speeches that H-men gave to the German people and troops. Couldn't understand what they were saying.
I'm sorry. Did he just like in a cutesy way say H-man? What? Why did he should just call him by his first name? Clearly they're close friends. Jesus Christ.
But boy, they sounded menacing. It just sounds evil. Well, now they've got AI that translated it into English and talks about Christian values.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Oh my God, don't start with me. Holy shit. Okay. Oh my God, Alyssa, how dare you do this to me? Okay.
And moral integrity and how valuable women are to a society. Damn, it's not quite as bad as I thought it was. And then
really? Really? It wasn't as bad. Oh my God, I'm gonna lose it.
Talks about the media being so corrupt. It played a big part in the Germans having their culture stolen from them. Damn.
Oh my. Oh, okay.
These are things we worry about, and I can't help but think we might have been on the damn wrong side of history.
You hear this dude's words for the first time in English.
No. What the? Okay. I don't even know what to say to that. You all know that's insane. I'll just finish the video. Let's just get through it.
The same words Donald Trump, the guy in your hat, is parroting to you. They're poisoning the blood of our country. They're vermin. The press is lying to you. And instead of going, man, I must be wrong because I find myself agreeing with Hitler, you say, maybe he was right. You grew up wondering, like I did, how the fuck did Germans allow this to happen to that many people? Mm-hmm. We are watching it with you happen in real fucking time. This take is beyond embarrassing. It's disgusting and dangerous. Watching you people try and reconcile with the idea that you can't be wrong about anything, which means the other option must be true, which means that guy had some good ideas.
Jesus Christ.
You tell me, man, I am fully serious.
Yeah.
Look at this photo, and you tell me if you think that we were on the wrong side of motherfucking history.
That's you know what?
So
I'm not even going to add anything to that because that guy, he got it. He but I don't. That guy said what I would have said, so that is pretty horrific. I know, yeah, Alan W. I don't know if you were here when. Yeah, I think you were here when this happened, Alan W. There was someone in chat a while back who was telling people in chat they should read Osama bin Laden's letter to America, and I very quickly jumped on it and said no. Okay, it is a piece of propaganda that makes it appear as though Osama bin Laden cares about Americans. It's all a mirage. Okay, yeah, and I remember that. Alan, when that became like his letter to America was, circulating on social media, and people were like, "Oh my God, I didn't know Osama bin Laden was like a cool guy," and it made me want to tear my hair out. I remember that. Yep. All right. Okay, guys. Let me see what else we got here to react to. Um. Okay. Let me see. Oh, you know what? I do kind of want to watch. Meowser has a bunch of good ones on here. So does Alyssa. Okay. Let's watch. I know Meowser did one yesterday that I really wanted to take a look at. Oh God, that's another good one. Alan has a good one here too. Okay. I wanted to watch this one. This is from yesterday. Maybe we should do Alyssa. Okay, you know what? We'll watch the dark gothic MAGA one.
It's never been easier to start a podcast than with
here,
Riverside. Here's how it works. First, go to Riverside.
So I felt like a boot off the throat. Like every morning I wake up happier.
Okay, so folks, there's a lot of really good ones here. I like the perfect scheme one. I like, oh my gosh, and Alan Poe. Okay, God, you have a lot of good ones on here. So we'll watch this one first. I'm going to speed it up a bit because it's 30 minutes long. So we'll do it on 0.125 whatever speed. Okay. 25 speed. Okay. Oh, what would I, Alyssa? Okay, well maybe we'll do that one after this one then. Okay, so let's watch this one now, folks. It is called Dark Gothic MAGA: How Tech Billionaires Plan to Destroy America. This kind of goes right into what we were talking about yesterday with the Dark Enlightenment, techno-feudalism. Okay, so let's watch this together. Here we go.
Than the day before, because all of these forms of repression that I just had gotten used to.
Hallelujah. Disappeared so far up their own woke asses. If those people stay in control, I think that the Republicans could have an electoral majority as far as the eye can see.
It's really the dawn of a new crypto era.
The future is going to be amazing!
More than any other sector, the tech industry invested in this election. Crypto accounts for more than half the corporate spend, with no other industry coming close. It's not unusual for industry to use their money to buy influence, and at a superficial glance, that's all the tech VC world wants. They want lower taxes and friendly regulation. They want the head of the Federal Trade Commission out. They want the tech industry to be responsive to the Future Commodities Trading Commission, not the Securities Exchange Commission. Except that's not all they want. Behind the money and influence flowing into the Trump campaign are a set of bizarre beliefs and a dark agenda.
I'm not just MAGA. I'm dark Gothic MAGA.
You see,
what the hell does that mean?
The tech bros of Silicon Valley believe that the American empire is on the verge of collapse. Silicon Valley wants to speed this up, but use the coming administration to create safe landing zones for them and their cash, where they can also run their own governments. And what is so annoying about this is it makes me sound crazy. It makes me sound like a conspiracy theorist. But I'm talking about crazy people. I am talking about the guy who wants to colonize Mars. I am talking about the guy who said he gave up on democracy in 2009. These tech bros justify their point of view because they believe that that's the natural place in society. The courageous geniuses on the new frontier. I'm not speculating.
Right,
these men say it. They say it on podcasts and at conferences and in interviews and in blog posts. Some are quiet, some are very, very loud, but they all are on board.
And I think that if we want to increase freedom, we want to increase the number of countries.
If you want to replace the elite that you have today, what you need to do is you need to have a better elite. And there's a way to do this. It's been done before.
We get kind of money and property right, and that it's a strong foundation for building.
So folks, are they, Malzord, are they about to talk about like techno-feudalism? Because they kind of sound like techno-feudalists here. I'm just kind of predicting here. I'm guessing that's what they're going to talk about.
Kind of a world that we all want to live in. We're seeing, some, breakdown of those in the real world in the United States lately.
I'm definitely very interested in ways that you can sort of tokenize real estate and actual physical land to create better forms of society and governance. I do think America is in slow decline right now. I would like us to all in crypto think about how we actually go create physical places in the world to preserve freedom over the long term. I think that's ultimately crypto's destiny.
The people of Mars will be more enlightened and will not fight amongst each other too much.
It's basically
enlightened. That is classic dark enlightenment language there.
Libertarian futurism, an ideology around technology, and including technology enhancing human freedom.
I am trying to fix government in the U.S. The plan was let's have a new government.
Where do we sort of go from the wisdom of crowds to the madness of crowds? We're far too far on the side that you can describe as collectivists.
Oh, there's Peter Thiel, the treacherous gay man, who I would say I renounce as a gay man. I renounce this gay man. The straights can have him. The bi people can have him. I give him to all of you. You're welcome. You can have him. Anyway, monstrous man.
Centralized, Borg-like, conformist, and also generally just simply incorrect.
I think that what Elon's doing is showing a path to fighting back. The left-wing elite's going to be kicking and screaming the whole way.
Mark Cuban, one of the more normal billionaires, had this to say about this particular group of men that I'm talking about.
What's happened in Silicon Valley is insane.
Right.
It's not so much a support thing, it's more like a takeover thing. Trying to put themselves in a position to have as much control as possible. They want Trump to be the CEO of the United States of America, and they want to be the board of directors that makes him listen to them.
Now, this hypothetical board includes a couple of power players that I think are worth keeping an eye on. Namely,
guys, go back and watch our stream from yesterday about the techno-feudalist fascism. This is exactly what we talked about, okay?
Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, Brian Armstrong, Mark Andreessen, Ben Horowitz, and David Sachs. In this video, I'm going to try and lay out what I think these people are doing behind the scenes. If you do want to dive further into this topic, I recommend looking at the work of Gilderon. I have linked his blog below. This is his beat, and he's amazing at it. This man is named Balaji Srivastava. Like Beyonce, he tends to only go by his first name. Balaji is highly involved in the tech scene, and while not a billionaire himself, he is friends with a lot of them. He's a former partner of Andreessen Horowitz. He is the former CTO of Brian Armstrong's Coinbase. Thiel actually recommended Balaji to be the head of the FDA during the first Trump administration.
I've not heard of all these guys.
It's called The Network State: How to Start Your Own Country. In that book, he talks about how to break nation-states apart into smaller territories, which can then be run like corporations.
Oh, yeah,
Silicon
there
Valley's
it is.
ultimate exit.
There
It basically
it is.
means build an opt-in society, ultimately outside the US, run by technology. And this is actually where the Valley is going.
You see, like many in the industry, Balaji is a disruptor. He is interested in disrupting the current idea of nationhood through the creation of a network of sovereign, tech-run territories protected by military-grade security. Balaji wasn't the first person to come up with this idea, not even in the tech scene, but he was the first person to present it in a more palatable way. The idea actually comes from someone named Curtis Yarvin. In Patchwork, Yarvin wrote, "The basic idea of Patchwork is that as the crappy governments we inherited from history are smashed, they should be replaced by a global spiderweb of tens, even hundreds of thousands of sovereign..."
Oh my God! It would have been. This would have made my research so much easier if I had watched this before I made that presentation yesterday. Okay.
And independent mini-countries, each governed by its own joint stock corporation, without regard to the residents' opinions. Patchwork is a reboot of the current system in order to install a new operating system. Yes, Yarvin is a software developer with a company named Urbit, invested in by Peter Thiel. He refers to these small territories as patches, but he's flexible about how they might run, maybe like a corporate urban space or a city-state like Athens. These corporate dictatorships would use all-seeing surveillance to protect their citizens and enforce their laws.
So question, folks, if there is no central government between all these corporate monarchical CEO-run city-states, who the hell is going to make sure that they, don't start dominating each other and conquering each other and taking away people's rights? Like, do they think that they'll all just decide to play by a certain set of rules and that's be what happens? I don't like. It's completely moronic. It is completely moronic.
There would be biometric IDs. If you're poor, you will have to move to another patch. Or the poor could be ground up and used as biodiesel, or locked into a virtual reality prison. Now, Yarvin...
Wait, what? Is he literally... Wait, is that true? I didn't know that. Let me just
protect
go back
their citizens and enforce their laws. There would be biometric IDs. If you're poor, you will have to move to another patch. Or the poor could be ground up and used as biodiesel, or locked into a...
What? That isn't even a joke? They want to grind up the poor into biodiesel? Jesus Christ. This really is like an insane, weird sci-fi dystopian. It's like Soylent Green or something. That is crazy. Did you all hear that? And then she's, yeah, okay. I did not know that about so anyway.
Virtual reality prison. Now, Yarvin said he was joking about the biodiesel thing, but not about the prison thing. So I'm not sure if he was joking about the biodiesel.
He wants to put them into a virtual prison, like trap their brains. Right, Fox Emblem. Yeah, you're right, RP. Like it's like a cyberpunk future insanity, right? Yeah, you're right. You're right, Rope Kit. It's like they want to make the Matrix. If they want to lock people in like a prison, a virtual prison.
Which gives us an understanding of why Balaji had to come up with a more appealing way to present this idea. Balaji has less about dictatorship and mass incarceration and more about freedom and opportunity. A lot of people in the industry acknowledge that Balaji's ideas are a little out there.
This is Balaji. Yeah, it's Balaji.
And I would dismiss them too if those same people weren't actively funding them. Millions of dollars are being funneled into these projects as we speak. This is the website for Praxis, a network state funded by Peter Thiel, Mark Andreessen, Balaji, and Sam Altman.
When
So
it
you know
came
what's
time
funny,
to
folks?
take things to the next level,
The
I
word
knew that I had to make a
Praxis.
website, and Wix was
Okay, so the word Praxis, which is the name of that company, Praxis is sort of actually is more of a left-wing idea. It's the idea of where you turn theory and thought into action in order to change things. So by naming that company Praxis, they're basically saying we want to turn these thoughts, we want to take action on them and turn them into a reality. So that's disturbing. You know, using the poor for biofuel, locking us in a prison, a virtual prison. This is great. Love it. Love it for us. Great. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love the place we're headed to in this country. People saying that Hitler, isn't, wasn't that bad of a guy. This is great. This is great. This is great. I'm sure we're all very happy and feel very secure.
Shared capital fund, Pronomus, which is dedicated to funding the creation of network cities. The website for Praxis says, as local communities dissolve and nation states stumble, network states will ascend. The next global superpower will be a network state. The next America will be on-chain. The stated goal of Praxis is to build a corporate government with a global footprint. It will have territories all over the world. Crypto will be its currency. The modern global system, once the greatest power in the history of man, has become a brittle, jerry-rigged contraption incapable of carrying out the most basic functions. As these governing institutions continue to degrade, people will come to realize that no one is...
Yeah, you know why, folks? You know why that our system is degrading and isn't working? Because the wealthy control all the wealth, and then they can bribe politicians, so nothing ever gets done that benefits people. But of course, these folks are wealthy and powerful, so they're never going to propose a situation where perhaps we redistribute some of that wealth, make it more equitable, and democratize the government, which would fix a lot of those problems. Alas, we have to go to the weird techno-feudalist lunacy rather than because remember, folks, the capitalists will always side with the fascists before they do anything left-wing at all.
Truly on their side. As nation states falter, network states become inevitable. I should mention that Pronomus Capital is funding the creation of other network states, many of which are further along than Praxis. Some examples are Prospera in Honduras, Afropolitan, Etana, and small farm cities in Africa, Metropolis in Palau, and I think Yangon City is planned for South Asia. On Pronomus' website, they claim decades of research on economic development has shown that the primary determinant of prosperity is the quality of a country's laws and the integrity of its courts, administrators, and other legal institutions. When institutions are outmoded, corrupted, or failing, the result is untold human suffering. Yet upgrading national institutions is notoriously difficult. Our solution? Build the cities of tomorrow. Right now, they are creating cloud communities, virtual nations. Once they have access to land, they will get their citizens to migrate to that city. Have a look at the pledge that you sign when you join Praxis, which you can join right now, by the way. Pronomus isn't actually Peter Thiel's first flirtation with exiting democracy either. In 2009, he funded the Seasteading Institute.
I want to say some things on why I think seasteading is not just possible or desirable, but why it is actually necessary.
The Seasteading Institute envisioned building these floating cities in the ocean outside of government's jurisdiction where billionaires could live and create as they saw fit. This idea kind of ran out of steam.
I swear, all these guys, all these like tech bro guys, it's like they're living out their childhoods, right? They're like imagining like floating cities and building, going to Mars and all this stuff. They're just like rich children playing out their little fantasy sci-fi fantasies. It almost makes me laugh. Like I feel like when I have had to, ketamine in free time. Exactly. You're right. Yeah. So a lot of these folks are probably drug addled too. So that kind of helps. You're right, Rope Kit. You're right, Rope Kit. And it's like Brave New World. Yep. BioShock. Yep. Okay. This, it is almost comedic how like, these guys, it's almost like going into a middle school and talking to some of the boys there. I get it. Okay. Turning it into like a BioShock hyper libertarian insanity. All right.
Because nobody wants to live at sea, especially not billionaires, which means they need land. But how do we get from a nation state to a network state?
And this is actually related to a fundamental concept in political science, the concept of voice versus exit. If a company or a country is in decline, you can try voice or you can try exit. Voice is basically changing the system from within, whereas exit is leaving to create a new system, a new startup, or to join a competitor sometimes.
There's another way that Balaji also talks about how this could possibly happen. He calls it tech Zionism.
You know, what I'm really calling for is something like tech Zionism, a movement supported by a global network
Whoa, I'm sorry. Did he? Okay. Oh, sweet Jesus, have mercy on me. Did he just? Okay, well, I got to go back. I hope I didn't mishear that, and I'm freaking out for no reason. Did he say tech Zionism? Tech Zionism, which just sounds like oh my God, that okay.
Create a new system, a new startup, or to join a competitor sometimes.
There's another way that Balaji also talks about how this could possibly happen. He calls it tech Zionism.
You know, what I'm really calling for is something like tech Zionism, a movement supported by a global network to take back territory in the city, floor by floor, street by street, block by block, policeman by policeman. You have a foothold of private property, and you have a group membership of Grey Tribe membership and private property. You also issue t-shirts. The tribal lens is like a virtual reality filter. Every single thing can be tagged as gray or blue in the city. I mean, like literally. So gray is the future, red is the past, blue is the present. So blue stands against both the past and the future. They're against both self-driving cars, and they don't want to go back to the 50s. They prefer OnlyFans, Me Too, BLM, Ukraine. The hard part is to take control of the streets. How can you fence off a street and make clear that it's under great control? Take total control of your neighborhood, push out all blues, tell them they're as unwelcome as just as blues ethnically cleanse me out of San Francisco. Like, push out all blues.
My
Who has
God,
lost some territory in the cloud. They still control the land. Once Gray starts taking back control of the land, they're really going to howl.
Hey, at least Israel is like, we're doing self-defense. We're doing self-defense. This guy's like, hey, we can just ethnically cleanse it. We can ethnically cleanse it. Okay, great.
As they start losing, they're going to whistle for backup from California and eventually DC. Okay, they're going to try to get executive orders or things like that, which means you're going to need to have sympathizers at the level of California and DC who will side with you enough to block those actions, number one. And or number two, you actually get to the level of a sanctuary city and you say, I dare you.
Keep in mind, actions like this are already being attempted in places like Solano County, where they're trying to build California forever, or the actions that Gary Tan is taking in San Francisco. But the people in these areas are putting up a fight, and it's costly, and it's slowing everything down. Fortunately, Trump is talking about something called freedom cities, the creation of new cities on federal land.
Almost 1/3 of the landmass of the United States is owned by the federal government, with just a very, very small portion of that land, just a fraction, 1/2 of 1%. Would you believe that? We should hold a contest to charter up to 10 new cities and award them to the best proposals for development. These freedom cities will reopen the frontier, reignite American imagination.
I wonder where he got that idea. This is where J.D. Vance comes in. J.D. Vance is seen as a mild-mannered, well-spoken success story. A populist who was born into tough circumstances in Appalachia, but managed to pull himself up by his bootstraps, graduate from Yale Law, become a best-selling author, become a tech venture capitalist, only to give all of that up for public service. When he was officially tapped on the shoulder for the vice presidential nomination, many of his former colleagues celebrated. Elon Musk, David Sachs, Mark Andreessen, and Balaji all tweeted their congratulations. After all, it was a strange choice for Donald Trump, especially compared to Mike Pence. But when it comes to J.D. Vance, a lot of people make strange choices. Peter Thiel invested $15 million in his campaign to become senator, the largest single donation to a Senate campaign in history. J.D. Vance is an extension of Peter Thiel. That doesn't mean that he is beholden to him, but it does mean that Peter Thiel has had such a huge influence on J.D. Vance's life that you cannot understand him without first understanding who Peter Thiel is.
I'm Peter Thiel. I build companies and I support people who are building new things.
I would say Peter Thiel is the most honest representation of what Silicon Valley is today.
Again, see, when you say, again, does he not look like a child, like a middle school boy? Like, hi everyone, I'm Peter Thiel. I like to build things. Like they cannot hide their child. Like anyway.
Up to $9 billion, extremely well connected. He started off as a member of the PayPal mafia, the guys who invented PayPal, and they originally intended for that to be a libertarian alternative to the US dollar. But when it wasn't that and they sold out, he used the money that he made from PayPal to invest in other companies, including being the first outside investor in Facebook. And today he has invested in a huge portion of the tech industry, including companies like Sam Altman's OpenAI. He's also a big deal in the tech defense sector. He owns Palantir, which is a surveillance software that is basically omnipresent in the US government. It's used by the CIA, FBI, ICE, Homeland Security, various police.
And again, folks, I know I'm sorry I keep interrupting, but for those who know Lord of the Rings, the fact that he named the company Palantir is a bad sign. It is a very bad sign. Look up what the Palantirs are in Lord of the Rings. Okay?
Forces. Palantir is also used by private companies such as Cambridge Analytica. In 2009, Thiel wrote a manifesto called The Education of a Libertarian. In this manifesto, he disavows electoral politics and democracy because he doesn't trust the people with big decisions, and he's come to believe that democracy and freedom are inherently
This is what we talked about yesterday,
he has talked
folks.
extensively about finding areas where great men can make choices as they see fit, unbridled by the law. Thiel gave the Trump campaign $1.25 million.
What Trump represents isn't crazy, and it's not going away.
Nope, it is.
He points toward a new Republican Party he points even beyond the remaking of one party to a new American politics.
And in return, he got an office in the Trump Tower where he had the president's ear and suggested candidates
Luke,
for his
we talked
administration.
about
Some of
Curtis
his
Yarvin
selections
yesterday.
didn't make the cut, like Balaji, but some did. Michael Kratsios was put in as the Chief Technology Officer of the United States of America, a position I did not know existed, and Michael Anton was put on the National Security Council. Michael Anton wrote a very concerning essay called The Flight 93 Election, which I have linked below, and it is very enlightening about who Peter Thiel thinks belongs on the National Security Council. And remember Curtis Yarvin, who we were talking about before? He is often referred to as Thiel's.
I've recently come to learn that a lot of founders and marketers don't quite know how to look up their competitors' marketing strategies.
In-house philosopher. Thiel has not only invested in a number of Yarvin's businesses, but he keeps Yarvin in his inner circle. Yarvin watched the 2016 election from Peter Thiel's house, where they celebrated with champagne at Thiel's successful investment in the Trump campaign. And while Peter Thiel may not be as explicit in his beliefs as someone like Balaji or Elon, or even Mark Andreessen, Yarvin assured Milo Yiannopoulos over email that Peter Thiel was fully enlightened, just plays it very carefully. People
What is it with all these gay people? Okay, that sounds bad, but you all know I'm gay, right? You got Milo, idiot, Yiannopoulos. I can't even pronounce his name. I don't even want to try, just to disrespect him. And then you got Peter Thiel, another gay man. It's like there's a gay mafia. And then I think also, what's his name? The other idiot, the one who founded OpenAI, he also is gay. Why are all these lunatic gay people doing these things to the government? Now, obviously, it's not because they're gay. I'm just making a joke here, but it's very distressing to me, as a gay man. I completely, right, Tiago, I disavow these people. They're no longer gay. I have officially disavowed all of them. Okay. Right, Rope Kittens. Yeah, right. He's no longer gay. He just lives with his, according to Milo, he had good gay conversion therapy, even though he lives with his best friend. Okay. Okay. It claims to no longer be gay, my ass. Yeah. You're right, Marcus. Fascism is capitalism in decay, 100%. We've actually spoken about that before on stream. All right.
In the New Right circles, refer to Yarvin as Lord Yarvin or the Prophet. This isn't someone on the fringe of the movement. This is someone who is respected. Just like Peter Thiel, J.D. Vance is an avid reader and friend of Curtis Yarvin.
There's this guy Curtis Yarvin who's written about some of these things.
Vance not only name checks Curtis Yarvin, but he often uses his languages and repeats his ideas.
You actually popularized the term red pill in the political context, is that right?
Wait, Alan. Wait, I didn't hear that, Alan. Someone in there said, you said, thank you, Big Braden. Yeah, how dare you, Big Braden? We have a CR quotes channel, and now Big Braden's going to put into the CR quotes channel. What is it with all these gay people? Yeah, thank you. Okay, Alan, is that the case? I didn't hear that someone said that they ethnically cleansed San Fran. I did not hear that. I apologize. That is horrific. I know, Tiago. I know. I was just joking. Okay. Yeah, you're right, Toy. Probably they did have to suppress a lot of that. Save the white streak. Tiago, how dare you? Okay, we'll continue.
Is this concept of red pilling.
Yarvin writes a lot of strange things, but one thing I'm particularly interested in is the blueprint he wrote for Donald Trump called The Butterfly Revolution. It's quite radical and another thing that would be easy to dismiss, but here's a clip of Yarvin talking about why he thinks it would be successful today.
Americans of 2024 are incredibly frivolous, incredibly ironic. It is the most ironic society in history. Like, imagine people trying to cope with a film like The Matrix or Inception in like 1960. Total frame breaking of this kind in some ways is actually easier than the sort of incremental political logic that people have employed in the past. They can sort of more easily imagine, oh man, it's all the Truman Show. In fact, they mostly already believe that it's all the Truman Show. They just don't understand the implications of that.
Something I find concerning is in many ways that the Butterfly Revolution perfectly aligns with Project 2025. Not a huge amount of the tech bros in Silicon Valley are religious, but that doesn't really stop these kinds of groups working together. Definitionally, both of these movements are fascistic. Fascism has never been a fully coherent ideology. That's one of the things that gives fascism its strength, its ability to bring together groups from different movements, all of whom see fascism as a viable.
Oh, so Jonas, I'm sorry. Jonas makes a good comment here. Okay, Jonas says the irony of Milo has been the biggest political troll I've ever seen. But then he goes on Candace Owens and all of a sudden doesn't hate Muslims despite advocating for their death for years. I know why that is, Jonas. You know why that is? It's not that he likes Muslims. It's that he hates Jews. His brand of being anti what Israel is doing, he's one of the few people where it is in fact anti-Semitism. Okay, he just hates Jews, so he probably has a racist idea that that Muslims are responsible for killing Jews or something, and so he is being verbally pro-Muslim because he thinks it'll be pro-killing Jews. I got to, that he is definitely not pro-Muslim. And same thing with Candace Owens. She doesn't care about Muslims. She is just anti-Semitic. And you all know, folks, it's me talking here. It is most of the times it is not the same thing to criticize Israel and to be anti-Semitic, but those are two cases where it absolutely is. Okay. Okay. I know, Jonas. It's gross. It is absolutely gross, Jonas. Yeah, you're right, Fox. They want a Dyson sphere. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Let the troubles begin. Okay, guys, let's continue here.
Mechanism to achieving their own program. And that's why some people say that fascism is always hyphenated. So it's always going to be tech fascism and Christian fascism, but these people can work together, and they do.
One of the things that evangelicals and libertarians should agree on is that the political order is not divinely ordained.
Amen.
Project 2025 has similar stated goals to the tech industry. In particular, the dismantling of the administrative state and the return of self-governance to the people. Project 2025 is made up of 4 pillars, and pillar 4 is the playbook. It is a transition plan for the president's eyes only. It will be rolled out upon the president's utterance of "So help me God." We don't know what's in this playbook, but given the alignment of talking points, key figures being involved in both, it wouldn't surprise me if it was similar to the Butterfly Revolution. And I think that's worth investigating. The Butterfly Revolution. Step 1. Campaign on autocracy.
He says, "You're not going to be a dictator, are you?" I said,
Okay, sorry, folks. This is really good. I'm just pausing because Jonas is making some great comments here. Jonas says that Milo literally said, "I can't be racist. I'm not going to say that word." BBC, if anyone knows what that is, okay, which is sickening to hear as an African. Yes, Jonas, and you know what that reveals? People who speak like that, they are objectifying black bodies. They are turning black people into objects to be used. Yeah. So just that, when people speak like that, it reveals a deep problem. Okay, if you're objectifying black people's bodies in that way, it shows you view them as objects. Okay, it's very it's disgusting. I totally agree. Okay. We'll continue.
No, other than day one.
Yavin says that Donald Trump should run on his autocratic ambition, but he should frame it as destroying an inefficient and unworkable system.
We are in the late Republican period. If we're going to push back against it, we have to get pretty wild and pretty far out there and go in directions that a lot of conservatives right now are uncomfortable with.
We are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
Step 2.
Yeah, oh God.
Purge
Jesus
the bureaucracy.
Christ.
Curtis Yarvin refers to this as rage.
Rage stands for retired.
Right, rope kittens. Right, Alan.
Employees.
And he has clearly influenced some very important people.
I think that what Trump should do, like if I was giving him one piece of advice, fire every single mid-level bureaucrat, every civil servant in the administrative state.
And we know that Donald Trump would be open to rage because it sounds a lot like Schedule F, an executive order issued by Donald Trump in October of 2020. Schedule F would have essentially stripped protections from civil servants who didn't show enough loyalty to the president of the day, which is why Joe Biden rescinded this order the second he came into office in January of 2021. But Trump has said he plans to reinstate it.
First, I will immediately reissue my 2020 executive order restoring the president's authority to remove rogue bureaucrats, and I will wield that power very aggressively.
But how could you accomplish
this
that?
This is all remember accelerationism, folks. Like when we talked about it yesterday, this is kind of that stuff. Like we need to, let's break down the state so that we can start having these corporate dictatorships take over the country.
I mean, you need civil servants. Don't worry, Project 2025 is already on it. Pillar 2 of Project 2025 could be considered MAGA LinkedIn. This platform is designed to pre-stream candidates for their loyalty and streamline the appointments process.
We talk about conservative warriors, but we want people who have been canceled, who've kind of figuratively given blood for the movement.
You can join it right now. Then pair that with Pillar 3, which is an online education platform known as the Presidential Administration Academy, and you have preemptively educated all future employees on what is expected of them from the conservative administration.
Fast teams need a fast CRM, and that's Monday CRM. It all started with the quick...
Step 3. Ignore the courts. According to Yavin, the president should simply state that he believes Madison v. Marbury was decided incorrectly,
totally right, Jonas.
declare a state of emergency, and that way Supreme Court rulings would be merely advisory.
When the courts stop you, stand before the country like Andrew Jackson did and say the Chief Justice has made his ruling, now let him enforce it.
But thanks to recent Supreme Court decisions, he may not even need to do that.
The High Court has just issued one of its most consequential rulings in recent decades, a decision that not only affects the 2024 race for president following last week's contentious debate, but also the future of the presidency itself.
Trump v. United States has laid the groundwork to ensure that Donald Trump can ignore the court. Now, the president has absolute immunity
Again, he's becoming the CEO,
acts,
right?
and presumptive
which is
immunity
that
for all
process
other
of
official
dark
acts.
enlightenment.
A distinction that has not been clarified by the court, with only a few examples being provided
Right,
and absolutely
Mithril?
no guardrails to stop the misuse of this decision being put in place.
Today's decision almost certainly means that there are virtually no limits on what a president can do, because the power of the office will no longer be constrained by the law, even including the Supreme Court of the United States. The only limits will be self-imposed by the president alone.
Step 4. Co-opt Congress. Yavin suggests that Trump handpick candidates for every single seat, with the sole criterion being personal loyalty to him. Because
again, folks, that is a classic fascist move. You remove all the officials in government and replace them with loyalists. I mean, I think that's obvious and goes without saying, but that is what they are doing.
You can't have a parliamentary dictatorship if you don't have Congress. And while it seems like a big task, Yavin assures us you only need a couple of $1 billion. I know some people with a few $1 billion. While Peter Thiel may have decided to sit this election cycle out, Elon Musk, Mark Andreessen, and Brian Armstrong have not.
We got to get the congressmen elected, and we got to get the senators elected, because we can take the Senate pretty easily. And I think with our little secret, we're going to do really well with the House, right? Our little secret is having a big impact. He and I have a secret. We'll tell you what it is when the race is over.
Step 5. Centralized police and government powers. In this declared state of emergency, Yavin suggests that Trump take direct control over all law enforcement agencies, federalize the National Guard, and effectively create a national police force that absorbs local bodies.
I think that actually the support of the Democratic public is a cipher. I think that actually all you need is command of the police.
This is so that a centralized police state can be created.
Unfortunately, he's largely right. If you have a monopoly on the use of force, so like you control the police, you control the military, everything else becomes a lot easier. And that's one of my big fears is if we lose the military, for example, if Trump makes a move to use the military, which he kind of already is against the American people, or the police, and they don't push back or they don't revolt, we got a problem. Then we've lost. It's over. Okay. You will know when it's, and folks, I know this is really dark, but I'm going to tell you this. Okay. We will know it is over if the military is turned against the American people without resistance. We can already see it a little bit happening now. Okay. And the police get turned against them, and the ICE gets turned against them. You can see we're already seeing some of this, but if we reach a point where that happens and there's no pushback, they're used illegally, that's when it's over. Okay. That's where the fascist has basically won. So just, we'll see what happens. Jonas says, how does impeachment work in America? Surely, if he continues like this, Trump will need to be taken down. Yeah, unfortunately, it's not going to happen, Jonas, because Congress is corrupt, and the Republicans control the Senate and the House. So you would need to go through a process in the House would have to have a trial, and the Senate would then have to vote to convict, and they won't. So we actually already tried during Trump's last term to impeach him multiple times, and we couldn't do it. So yeah.
To back the power grab, and I'd say there's no way this could happen if Donald Trump hadn't tried to do it before. We know that he sent the National Guard during the George Floyd protests.
And then I was insistent on having the National Guard go in and do their work. It was like a miracle. It just, everything stopped.
And we know that he wanted to invoke the Insurrection Act.
If your state refuses to take the actions that are necessary to defend the life and property of their residents, then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them.
Now, there are, of course, protections within the law, posse comitatus, to stop a president from doing this, but Donald Trump has found a loophole before. I'm sure he'll find one again, especially in a state of emergency where he has absolute immunity for core official acts. Step 6. Shut down elite media and academic institutions. Yavin has explicitly said that you cannot have a New York Times or a Harvard past April. He has a popular theory that true power in America is held by something he calls the cathedral, a term that should alert you whenever you hear it to this kind of thing. The cathedral is made up of elite media and academic institutions that, according to Yavin, set the bounds of acceptable political discourse and distort reality to conform with their ideological beliefs.
So the cathedral is essentially performing the functions that a ministry of truth would perform in a classic Orwellian, environment.
Okay, do we all see the irony in Curtis Yarvin claiming that the universities in schools and stuff are like the Ministry of Truth from 1984? Does he have zero self-awareness?
And it's performing the functions that a religion would in a classic theocracy.
Therefore, existing media and academic institutions need to be dismantled. Vance has been quite vocal about his disdain for academic institutions, despite graduating from Yale, and often repeats Yavin's ideas in his own words.
So much of what we want to do in this movement in this country, I think, are fundamentally dependent on going through a set of very hostile institutions, specifically the universities, which control the knowledge in our society, which control what we call truth and what we call falsity, that provides research that gives credibility to some of the most ridiculous ideas that exist in our country. And so I think
So folks, pretty soon we're going to be doing, he does know what he's doing. Pretty soon we're going to be, so we're going to be, I'm sorry, having a mind blank. We're going to be doing a stream sometime where I talk about post-truth societies, which is what they're talking about here. Jonas says, sorry, but that just makes me even more frustrated with you as citizens. You elected an evil mongrel in human skin. Jonas, trust me, I will tell you, a lot of the Americans here in chat, if not all of them, did not vote for Trump. Trust me, a lot of Americans feel the exact same way. We are enraged. We are enraged that our fellow citizens did this, even though we did not want it. And Jonas, if you've watched your streams before, you know you can kind of we've kind of talked about why this happened. It's largely because of corruption in politics, the government not able to function in a way that benefits people, so people turn to more extreme things. I know, Jonas, and that was one of the worst days of my life. I got to be honest with you, when I found out that Trump had won a second time. I'm sure a lot of people in chat here would agree.
Any of us want to do the things that we want to do for our country and for the people who live in it, we have to honestly and aggressively attack the universities in this country.
Trump has said that if elected, he will reclaim the universities from the Marxist maniacs and lunatics who currently control them. How will he do this?
When I return to the White House, I will fire the radical left accreditors that have allowed our colleges to become dominated by Marxist maniacs and lunatics. We will then accept applications for new accreditors who will impose real standards on colleges.
In his Agenda 47, Trump has proposed a law to monitor universities for civil rights violations.
I will advance a measure to have them fined up to the entire amount of their endowment.
That means he could essentially put an institution like Harvard out of business overnight. Elon Musk spends a significant portion of his time trying to undermine existing media in favor of his own platform X. Trump has absolutely no problem getting rid of legacy media. He has repeatedly talked about the government's licensing of broadcast airwaves and about 15 times threatened to revoke licenses of existing stations.
And it's frankly disgusting the way the press is able to write whatever they want to write. And people should look into it.
Step 7.
It is
turn out your people.
Jonas.
Get your people out on the street to show their support for you anytime a government agency tries to obstruct you. Yavin says it should be like the post-Soviet revolution. There should be masses of people. It should be joyful. And we know that Donald Trump has no problem in asking people to physically show their support for him.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength.
Once this butterfly revolution has taken place and the presidency looks more like a CEO or a king, the court of tech geniuses will have a much more realistic shot at getting what they want. One thing I can tell you about these Silicon Valley tech bros is that they are long-term thinkers. They are planning for years and years and years into the future. In case you needed more evidence that Silicon Valley and Project 2025 are in bed together, there is this strange tech conference called Reboot. And in September, at the last Reboot conference, which is all about creating a new reality, there was a special secret guest speaker. That secret guest speaker ended up being Kevin Roberts, who gave a speech titled Tech and the American Republic. The point of trying to put
Malzord. So sorry, folks. Malzord says, I do wonder if Trump is following a nuanced accelerationist strategy or he's just a big fragile crybaby. It's the second thing, Malzord. I'm almost certain of that. My concern, Malzord, is that the people around him, because Trump is a fragile crybaby who's very impressionable, like a child is, okay, they can influence him to do the accelerationism stuff, and they kind of have. They kind of push him in that direction. So even though he himself is not, come on, let's admit it, he's not competent enough. He can't even spell accelerationist. He doesn't know what it is. He is the useful idiot, as Putin would say. Exactly, Mithril. He is the useful idiot. That's what worries me. Right, Macy? Yeah.
Vance in the VP position wasn't just to have him one heartbeat away from an old and ailing president. It was to introduce him to the world as the new blueprint of the Republican Party, to provide a strong option for a post-MAGA Republican Party, a party that will co-opt the government to destroy the country in order to allow self-described great men to install themselves as mini kings.
Yeah, Fox Emblem. So Fox Emblem says they don't think long term. All of this is LARP. You're partially right there, Fox Emblem. They have an imaginary long term thing that they think of. That's not really true, but they act in the moment. That's for sure. Okay, guys, that was really good. Thank you, Alyssa. Was it Alyssa or Malzor? Malzor. Thank you, Malzor, for that. Let me find another one to watch here. I think there were I saw, there were definitely a bunch of other good ones. Things aren't great, folks. I agree, Alan. The Dems will continue to lose if their strategy to fight fascism is to be more like the fascists, 100%. This makes me so enraged. The Democratic Party, folks, is deeply responsible for the problems we're in, okay? Because they're so corrupt and their refusal to actually change things, because the people want change. And unless they actually get some change, they're going to keep voting for people who are claiming to do change and at least appearing to do change, even if it's horrible change. The Democrats can't just sit in the center or be like Gavin Newsom, who's like, oh, well, Donald Trump is a socialist. Okay, it's moronic. It's moronic. And they're going to be the result in okay, it's going to be bad for all of us. Okay. Right. Okay. So let me see what else here see what else here we got. Yeah. The system is massively corrupt, 100%, Tiago. Of course, Alan W. I didn't know that, but story, bro, that's pretty, of course, Eric Adams. I hope so, Rope Kittens. And folks, I got to be honest with you. I'm like, I've lost my patience with the situation. If let's say, if we even get, I love that Mithril in his mouth. If we even have another election, even if we do, let's hope we do. But if we do, and a Democrat wins, I hope we better see some arrests taking place. I don't even give a shit. Okay, we better see some arrests taking place. We need some people thrown into prison. A bunch of these monsters need to be in prison. Okay, we cannot. If we don't do that, they will come back again and again and again. Okay, we need some heads to roll. Of course, I don't mean violence. Of course, I would never mean that. But and I know so, all right. For Americans, it can be kind of a scary notion, the idea of having a leader that is slightly more authoritarian. I am not saying we need a dictator, but we need a president and an administration that uses the bully pulpit and is willing to utilize the power they have to strike back against these monsters, including arresting them. And yes, go through legal processes and stuff. Trust me, it'll be easy. They've committed plenty of crimes. Do it. Okay, we can't let them. No, of course not, guys. I don't mean violent. What do you mean? I would never. That's illegal to advocate. I would never say that. My point being, I want a guillotine tattoo. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Anyway. All right. No violence, straight to biofuel. Yep. Hey, and folks. Okay, Meowzord just he's making a joke here, but okay, this is going to sound bad. Okay, spicy take here. Meowzord says no violence, just straight to biofuel. If you do not use the same tactics that the other side is using, you will fail. Okay. I am not suggesting we turn the other side into biofuel. They haven't done that. But my point being, if the Democratic Party focuses on laying down like a slug and not being rude and being nice and things like that, they will be crushed. This is a simple Machiavellian principle. This is simple realistic politics. And they keep doing it. They keep doing it. They keep doing it. When Biden was in office, he was not willing to use his power to do things Trump had done in an effort to strike back. It is an unfortunate reality of politics. We need a strong leader who strikes back. Okay, I'm done. No. Okay. All right. Okay, sorry, I'm done with my little rant here. Let me go on now to another video here. All right. We'll watch that other one. I think that Alyssa posted here. Degenerate, one day Trump will be gone. Let's watch that one. We can hope one day he'll be gone. At this point, it feels like it'll never happen, but okay. All right. So, folks, we'll watch this. This is another longer one, but so I'll put it on a bit faster speed here. By the way, folks, if we get what did I say? 3 more super chats, I'll put on the Jester collar. Or if we get $20, I'll put on the Jester collar. You're right. You're totally right, guys. You guys, you're all spitting facts here, Luke. But they unilaterally disarm. They will recognize we were right and change the wicked way. Right? Exactly. Yeah. You're right. Okay. When they go low, we go high. Can't stand that phrase. Yep. You're right, Mithril. There are many progressive candidates looking to primary this corrupt centrist. These upcoming midterms, they are absolutely very important, Alan. Maybe personally would. Okay, so I'm going to put up the screen here. Tiago, I will shit. Tiago, where's that video? Would you remind me? Where'd you say you posted it? Forgive me, Tiago. Would you just tell me where you posted it real fast? Well, we watched that first, actually. Okay, where is it, Tiago? Would you remind me? You already said so, but my ADHD, I'm kind of distracted. So Tiago did have a video. We'll watch this one after that. But Tiago, I guess, made a video for us. Oh, Instagram. Okay, I got you, Tiago. 1 second here. 1 second here. Okay, 1 second. I'm having trouble signing into my account here. You know what we'll do? Tiago, we might need to watch a different time because I don't have Instagram set up on my computer, and for some reason I need to find the password and stuff. So let's do that another time. Maybe we'll do it next stream. Sorry about that. We'll definitely watch it though. I'm very excited to see it. Let me see what so we'll do that next time, Tiago. My apologies. I mean, I could just show it on my phone, but you guys won't be able to hear it very well. So let's instead of that, let's just do this video first, and maybe while I'm doing it, I'll try to figure out how to pull up that video. Yes, do that, Tiago. Do that. Send it to Discord. Do that if you don't mind. That'll make it easier for me. All right, guys. Well, in the meantime, folks, for those that are watching, please like the stream if you haven't already. That'll help get more people in here. If you want to become a member for as little as 99 cents a month, you can help support the channel and what I do here. And if you do subscribe for 99 cents a month, you get a cute little jester hat next to your name, which will change color with time the longer you're a member. And you get access to exclusive emojis, which you shall see in the chat now because I shall put them there. Hey, little emojis. Oh, so cute. Oh, little emojis. Okay. There we go. Give us Trixie makeup collab. Wait, maybe we could do that, right? We could do that. Again, folks, if we get 3 more super chats, I will put on the Jester collar, or $20, I should say. Well, not $20, maybe like $10, since we've already gotten a few more. Just trying to fund myself here with it. So we'll do that. And let me know when you've done it, Tiago, so we can all hear the whole cult can hear the exclusive. Right, I don't see it yet. That's okay. I'll wait for Tiago to tell us. Okay. All right, guys. Not a cult, Macy. Right? Not a cult. Okay. So Tiago, accepted on me on Discord. Oh yeah, sure, Tiago. Sorry, give us a second here. We all love Tiago here. We gotta where are you, Tiago? Oh, I got it. Pending. Got it, Tiago. All right. I mean, I confirmed the request. All right. Got it. Thank you. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So I will let me move this over. All right, guys. Can we hear it? Can we see it? I bet we can't hear it. I'm gonna just quickly. This is so Tiago. It's a song I think Tiago wrote. You tell us, Tiago. Please introduce it to us. Thank you, Alan. For that. Helpful. Okay. Let me just make sure here. So this. I already like what it looks like on screen here, Tiago. Application. I mean, just make sure I got this correct here. LGBT and LSD. That's the name of the song. I love it. Okay, so here we go, folks. Let's hear what Tiago wrote for our little cult here. Okay. Meowsword, okay. Oh, it was a live performance. I love it. Amazing. Okay, thank you, Tiago. That's fantastic. Okay. That's the actual projection you use. That's so cool. Okay, thank you, Tiago. All right, guys. Let's watch this video here. Thank you again, Tiago. Marcus, thank you for the super chat. I wonder how many people actually know of socialist influence in U.S. history. Yeah, you're right. So, you know, a lot there, folks, like the example, the May Day celebration that's celebrated all over the world originated in America. America had a thriving socialist movement up until the Red Scare and the Cold War. It was renowned for it. We had a thriving socialist movement, very influential across the globe, but then it was crushed by our government because we can't have nice things. Thank you, Marcus, for that donation. And because of that $10 donation, I'll put on the gesture caller. Thank you very much, Marcus. There we go. This is better. Okay, guys. So let's watch this next video here. Thank you again, Marcus. All right. Let's go on here. Let's watch Fortunate Son of Grog. Alan W. Since we are talking about the importance of future elections, I say we watch the speech Alyssa sent next. That is fair. Alan, I'm going to watch this one first just because I already have it up. But unless this is like, well, we'll see what this is. And then after that, we'll watch the other speech, okay? I guess I'm being lazy about it. All right, let's watch. Okay, got you, Alan. Let's go. We'll actually make sure that the sound is ready for everyone. Here it is. Okay. All right, let's go.
You might have noticed that a lot of bad things are happening right now.
If it sounds to you like I am alarmist, that is because I am ringing an alarm.
On the streets of D.C., law enforcement officers are reportedly doing random bag searches.
One that I hope every person listening will heed, both here in Illinois and across the country.
Which appears to be illegal.
This is exactly the type of overreach that our country's founders warned against.
People at bus stops are being asked to show their papers.
It is illegal.
Donald Trump is trying to fire Lisa Cook from the Federal Reserve Board of Governors.
The last video was Meowsword, right? Yeah, the last video, just letting you know, Macy, you're right, I'm trying to mix it up so they're not all from the same people. The last video was Meowsword. This one is Alyssa.
Despite a prior U.S. Supreme Court ruling that seemed to limit his powers on that front.
It is unconstitutional.
In its Groundhog Day approach to border enforcement, the government has arrested Kilmar Abrego Garcia again, just after he was released, still trying to deport him permanently to somewhere else.
It is un-American.
On Monday, this action led to a hearing in which Maryland U.S. District Court Judge Paula Zenas said to the Department of Justice attorney that for the time being, quote, your clients are absolutely forbidden from removing Mr. Abrego from the continental United States.
So a lot of people say, you know, if that's the case, I'd rather have a dictator.
So day after day, it's the same thing, except there's also a lot of new things to go with the repeating parts.
Freedom, freedom.
It's easy to get caught up in all of these fire alarm emergencies.
He's a dictator. He's a dictator.
And you absolutely should be acting right now to do things. So I think that sense of pressure is important.
I don't like a dictator.
Yes.
But sometimes it can feel overwhelming and panicky, like you're just running from crisis to crisis. So today I want to remind you that one day Trump will be gone. And I want to talk about not just skittering from crisis to crisis, but instead planning for the long run. And at the end of the episode, I'll consider some ways to take action that don't just feel like using a thimble of water to put out a forest fire. Our current president has long embraced some of the most atrocious world leaders whom he counts as his peers.
You have said positive things about Putin as a leader.
He's likewise styled himself after some of history's worst dead tyrants.
And about China's massacre of pro-democracy protesters at Tiananmen Square.
Remember his defending tweeting Mussolini's words by saying,
it's a very good quote. It's a very interesting quote.
Trump has recently even been talking more about a possible third term.
Look, Mussolini was Mussolini.
Suggesting that the U.S. seems to want a dictator.
But what difference does it make whether it's Mussolini or somebody else?
It's worth looking at him through the framework that he wants to apply. That of dictators and dictatorship, to talk about how the coming months or years might go.
You want to be associated with a fascist?
No, I want to be associated with interesting quotes.
First of all, President Trump is an old man.
Oh my God.
His hands are bruised, his ankles are swollen.
The White House released a memo from Trump's physician addressing the controversy. The report diagnosed him with chronic venous insufficiency, a benign circulation issue that is relatively common in older adults.
And it's a reasonable thing to think that he's not in good health and might die soon.
There was no evidence of heart failure, kidney disease, blocked arteries, or dangerous blood clot. Still, speculation has not gone away.
His absence will offer a window to reject so many harmful policies that have already led to death around the globe and are likely to lead to tremendous harm
and we
here
have,
at home.
We have to take advantage of that gap, okay? I cannot emphasize this enough. This might be the last chance. If he leaves office, okay, and we get someone in there who is not him, it better be someone who rolls back and does radical changes, because otherwise we're going to keep having this problem.
A new report from the Lancet Medical Journal estimates the USAID cuts could cause 14 million deaths over the next 5 years. The cuts have led to the closure of food kitchens and health clinics, as well as a halt in shipments of medication, water purification tablets, and nutritional packets for starving children.
But how much advanced knowledge will we have, and what signs should we be looking for? What other times have powerful national leaders been ill and concealed the truth? So let's talk about all that for a little bit. This is a dynamic that happens to a certain degree with any older or infirm leader, in part because most cultures have absorbed at least a whiff of a fascist ethos in which weakness is seen as shameful.
Yep.
Doing everything we can.
Thank you, sir. Disappointed by Mrs. Burford's letter?
Think of Ronald Reagan, of course, currently burning in hell. Okay.
FDR hiding his disability. Think of Kennedy with his pain pills for his back. Think of the degree to which Biden was presented as perfectly on his game, though his daily acuity had clearly declined.
I did not. I'll take a look at it, Drusilla.
But the dictator faces even greater pressure to lie about his health.
So Trump is a dictator.
Fascism is a fleeting attempt by a leader to eradicate time and pretend he has the power to inflict a permanent present set in the historical moment of his choosing.
Not that I don't have the right to do anything I want to do. I'm the president of the United States.
In the dictatorial ruling party's vision, the leader himself actually embodies the country. So that sense of immortality has to be preserved through constant deception. Meanwhile, a vicious jockeying for power takes place as rivals strive to become the next immortal leader of the authoritarian state.
I said, Mr. President, so long as you behave, I won't say anything. And he just chuckled a little bit.
So when someone who's embraced dictatorship gets sick, it's a next level phenomenon entirely.
You are the single finest candidate since this Nobel Award was ever talked about.
The whole political project is built on the illusion that the dictator will live forever.
Thank you for your leadership, for your boldness.
Which necessarily leads to a long tradition of hiding the dear leader's illness.
This is a well-known and benign side effect of aspirin therapy. And the president remains in excellent health, which
Has anyone ever seen the video of Hitler during the last days of the war where you can see his hand behind his back and it is shaking? It is shaking, and because he may have had Parkinson's. Like, they're constantly trying to, in dictatorship and stuff, trying to hide the illnesses of their leaders. By the way, folks, so I am not going to watch that what Alyssa sent us next. I just realized I should mix it up a bit more because there's a bunch of other stuff on there from other people. So we'll watch what Alyssa sent because this tomorrow. But I'll watch some other stuff. There's so much in the Discord right now. It's kind of hard to keep track, but I will go and watch someone else stuff. Okay.
I think all of you witness on a daily basis.
Right, Drusilla?
In a medical crisis that would not only change the Middle East, but reshape U.S. relations in the region to the present day. Reza Pahlavi, the Shah of Iran, developed cancer in the 1970s.
The Shah, like most dictators, was surrounded by yes men.
It was a remarkably repressive regime, a regime that existed only by the power of both the army and the Savak secret police.
Rather than acknowledge his illness, when it was found in 1974,
the Queen didn't find out about his cancer for 3 years.
Yep,
he hid the diagnosis across the next 5 years.
Persian culture had a 2,500-year-old history.
This is actually a really good point. I didn't consider this, how illness is treated under authoritarian regimes, and this is exactly what you see going on in the Trump administration. It's an excellent comparison.
In the few years he had left, and his reforms were being undermined by corruption. After months of violent riots and protests, in February 1979, the revolution was complete.
In some cases, misleading even doctors who were treating him.
He wound up in Mexico, where the doctors thought he had malaria, and suggested that he be transferred to New York for specialist treatment. And despite the risk this would seriously irritate the Ayatollahs, President Jimmy Carter agreed.
The fury of Iranian students over the Shah being admitted to the U.S. for treatment shaped the emerging dynamic between the two countries and seeded the hostage crisis that defined the end of the Carter administration and set the stage for Ronald Reagan's.
Hitler was on a whole bunch of drugs. There's a great book called Blitzed, which is about how a lot of Nazis were on drugs. There was a drug called Pervitin, which was basically meth, that a lot of Nazis were on. Hitler was sometimes prescribed cocaine. He was on a lot of drugs.
There was, in fact, a secret effort by the Reagan campaign to sabotage the Carter campaign by urging the Iranians to hold the American hostages until after that year's presidential election.
The illusion of health may be so widespread that the doctors who participate in it and reflect it back to their patient when he's a dictator may even shape the leader's belief about his own health. After a 1976 stroke and secret reports of significant heart issues, Soviet leader Leonid Brezhnev developed a hand tremor and slurred speech, often dozing off in public meetings. At the time, he wrote in his diary, "They checked my brain cells, said everything was good. You should be envied and congratulated. You're strong and healthy."
Здравствуйте.
Yep, classic Brezhnev.
Well into his dotage, Brezhnev was celebrated by the Politburo as a hero and given a special World War II medal decades after the conflict had ended. When he did finally die, Brezhnev was replaced by Yuri Andropov, who managed to live only 15 months in office. Andropov was followed by Konstantin Chernenko.
From ABC News, this is the Weekend Report.
Good evening from
You know what, folks? I'm going to pause this here. I want to show you something real fast. I can't help myself. We were just talking about Hitler being on drugs. Just wait. Let me show you a video. Let me show you a video of Hitler. Hitler. Okay. This is not Photoshopped. This is not. Okay. Here it is. All right. I'm going to show you guys. This is a very classic footage that historians found of Hitler at the 1936 Olympics. We don't know what drug he was on. We can guess that it was either methamphetamine or cocaine. So I'll show it to you. Hopefully you can see the screen here. So again, this is serious. This is literal. Yeah, they did. They all used a bunch of drugs. So here it is. This is Hitler. Now, just be aware of what a normal human might do and what Hitler is doing in this image. Okay, so again, here's the video. Do we all see that? And if you look at his hands, hopefully the camera will pan down. His hands are kind of twitching and becoming, he's rubbing his leg, going back and forth. Like, okay, so that would align with, for example, methamphetamines or cocaine. Yeah, okay. And we don't think he used them as regularly as a lot of other Nazis, but he was definitely on a combination of drugs. I can show you some other footage of him really fast. One last one here. Okay, where you can see his hand. Right. Videos here. Okay, so the last oh, you know what? Well, I'll find it some other time. But there's another footage of him with his hand behind his back where it is shaking uncontrollably near the end of the war. So yeah, he was probably very much on drugs. Okay, let's put it that way. All right, guys, let's continue this video.
Various inner chambers of the Kremlin, a surprise today. Soviet leader Konstantin Chernenko re-emerged. He popped up at a polling place. Moscow correspondent Walter Rogers has details.
This was President Chernenko's first public appearance this year, although his frail condition evidenced in these pictures
Lane, that's why they took
speculation about his health.
Who made it just over a year before dying. As the Washington Post would report, only 1 month after Communist Party officials congratulated him on claiming victory with 100% of the vote. But perhaps the most famous example of the decline and death of an autocrat is the death of Stalin in 1953.
Through the 30 years of his rule, he remained.
And really fast, folks. So I told you there's a second video of Hitler's hand shaking behind his back. That was near the end of the war when he no longer had access to these drugs because the Soviets were surrounding the city. And he may have been going through withdrawal from all the drugs he was on. So, yeah.
Unchallenged, even
Sounds good,
of the Supreme Council, the Soviets' administrative machine.
Immortalized in the film of the same name. The obsequiousness of the rivals who might succeed him as they publicly further the cult of personality that they've been subservient to for decades.
By the way, great movie, one of my favorite movies. It's a dark comedy called The Death of Stalin. The Death of Stalin. It is a really good movie. It, like I said, very dark comedy, but it's pretty historically accurate, but it's hilarious about Stalin dying. Always fun to laugh about Stalin dying. I highly recommend it to everyone here. I think you can find it on Amazon or something like that. Yeah, absolutely fantastic movie. I really recommend it. And a lot of the stuff in it actually did happen.
Was outdone only by their viciousness as they tried to eliminate one another once he'd actually died.
Now Molotov, chief of secret police Beria, and Stalin's right-hand man.
That's actually a scene from the movie. Okay, anyway. Meowzord, you know
and
what I'm talking about.
we've already had a taste of that dynamic in Trump's first term during the pandemic. The president's medical staff had long been telling obvious lies about everything from his height to his weight.
I would say the answer to your question is he has incredibly good genes, and it's just like God made him.
But his coteries' praises of him, when he was very clearly ill with COVID, became entirely comic.
I spoke with the president yesterday, and he was his typical self, hard at work, dictating a statement, remarks to me, and very meticulous about the precise wording.
In a photo op during his hospital stay at Walter Reed Military Hospital, Trump signed what turned out to be a blank sheet of paper in a staged attempt to prove that he was still on the job. while his daughter Ivanka claimed that, quote, nothing can stop him from working for the American people. How sick is Trump today?
The idea, so fascists always present their leader as being like having infinite energy, constantly working for the needs of the people, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, it's nonsense. They also, Kim Jong-un, they always say, he's constantly energetic, constantly. Remember how we talked about one of the signs of fascism is action for action's sake. So the very image of doing action is a very fascist idea here. Right, Jonas. Yeah, he's not. He's definitely not always full of energy. Okay. Miro, I'm sorry you didn't get a notification, but welcome though, Miro. Glad to see you here.
You are so bad.
He seems both mentally and physically unsteady, but we have little more than outward signs of illness, the bruises and the ankles, and his incoherent public statements to go on.
Hello. Who is that back there? Get out of the room.
The administration is currently bent on lying to the American people about nearly every aspect of governance. And leaders in the Republican Party who denounced him just a few years ago,
Trump is a really bad candidate, and frankly, I think a really bad person.
are now given to very Soviet-style encomiums about his physical prowess and his intellectual health.
The president is in incredibly good health. He's got incredible energy.
Nevertheless, Trump is far from immortal. He's an old man in serious decline. The day after he dies, or when he leaves office, if the two aren't simultaneous, the past can offer some help about what the situation will look like on the ground. What we should hope is that it isn't more like the death of Vladimir Lenin, whose role as leader was followed not by liberation, but by 3 decades of rule by Stalin.
Soviet propaganda built up a picture of Stalin as a countryman
that's one of my fears too.
Yet when Lenin died, it was he who destroyed those same people. It is believed nearly 7 million of them to make his position secure as Russia's dictator.
As I talked about last week, defeat in war is one way that concentration camps can end. That situation is also a chance for a national reset. After wartime defeats, whole governments are removed, parties obliterated, constitutions get rewritten. But outside of that dramatic situation, one that's very far removed from the current situation in the United States, after the death of a demagogue, countries struggle to eliminate authoritarian power structures built around personal relationships to the dictator and his circle. More often, particularly when society has had a polarization driven by an extremist party, a deep divide remains. A culturally
she knows, right? We've talked about this polarization caused by an inefficient government, et cetera, et cetera.
Fissure that becomes difficult to cross and which prevents the country from healing. We see these in many places around the world, including in South America in the wake of late 20th century dictatorships.
The Chilean oligarchy were completely behind the dictatorship. The ruling class are now, in a way, fighting to defend that legacy. Pinochet privatized state companies that still belong to the richest people in Chile. It's not right that in our country, things that happened 50 years ago should continue to take up so much space.
This is the long-term political divide most likely to frame national elections in the coming decade or longer, that there will be 2 narratives about America, and they will be completely divergent.
You are really the transformational president of the American worker, along with the American flag and President Roosevelt.
Bootlicking.
Move forward. Societies need some kind of clean break or fresh start.
Seldom, if ever, in history have winners been as generous towards losers as the new leaders of South Africa have been towards the men who inflicted apartheid on them.
And though it had flaws, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in South Africa in the wake of apartheid offered a powerful example of how this might be done.
Here's how it works. Victims tell their stories. Stories of atrocities which were literally unspeakable under the old regime. Then the perpetrators get a chance to own up to their crimes and by doing so, become eligible for amnesty. All they have to do is tell the truth.
Other countries have brought their military juntas or former leaders, along with collaborators, to justice. Given the human rights abuses currently underway here in the U.S., legal and political accountability projects should have a place in any future American efforts at reconstruction. Such projects have a long history in our country and could be framed as the setting for another try at entrenching real democracy in the United States.
Yes, and that's what she is. Oh my God, I love this woman. I don't know who she is, but she's brilliant. We need massive reconstruction. We need massive reforms. Even after Trump is gone, we still need those things. Okay, have I made that clear?
No memorial oration or eulogy could more eloquently honor President Kennedy's memory than the earliest possible passage of the Civil Rights Bill for which he fought so long.
If fascism is nothing more than the attempt to turn the present into a past that never existed, Trump has been busy trying to do exactly that. He's been working to remove people of color from public spaces and high-ranking positions. He's been ordering the return of a Confederate statue to D.C.
Fort Cavazos is once again Fort Hood. The Army just made that change hours after President Donald Trump made an announcement during a visit to Fort Bragg in North Carolina. This comes 2 years after 9 military bases were renamed to remove titles that honored Confederate leaders. Fort Cavazos was chosen to honor General Richard Cavazos, a Texas-born veteran who became the first Hispanic 4-star general.
He's been trying to roll the clock back to sometimes as far as 1798 in his treatment of aliens in the country.
This is classic.
And trying to ignore the
remember we talked about what's his name? The Roger Griffin, the idea of palingenetic ultranationalism returning to a mythic past. Yep.
His own history of extending protections and rights to the vulnerable as he does so.
The administration invoking an obscure law, the Aliens Enemies Act of 1798, which allows the government to deport people with little to no due process and was last used to round up Japanese Americans during World War II.
Why does Trump always have to pick the oldest, most racist laws to do what he wants to do? Cutting taxes under the authority of the It's Okay to Drown Italians law of 1863.
Trump has been openly racist for decades, so small wonder he's left much of the detention and deportation project to sadistic imp Stephen Miller.
Instead of thanking him for that,
oh God, there he is, the monster himself. Look at that. Look at that face. Yeah, I would love to see. Someone in chat mentioned Mussolini earlier. Would love to see something similar with Stephen Miller. Anyway,
President Trump, how dare you save our lives?
Other Trump apparatchiks seem to be acting out power fantasies, like Russell Vought, the Project 2025 guru.
We want to put them in trauma.
Who is now deliberately inflicting trauma on the federal employees and government programs designed to help Americans, and which have, in fact, benefited his own family in the past. But the success of fascism is always dependent on the tyrant who sits at the center of an insular world and becomes the manifestation of the backward-looking project.
I can do it.
Yep.
This is in part why I'm a little worried about Gavin Newsom's approach to dealing with Trump. On the one hand, his social media staff does brilliant send-ups of Trump's unhinged communication blasts, and Newsom, in aping the president's exaggerations, shows how ridiculous the man is.
Why am I giving him advice? You have to stop it with the Twitter thing. You are making a fool of yourself. Stop it.
But my concern with the language of Trumpism is that the more we adopt it, the smaller our responses and our world become. And the more dependent it remains on Trump himself. It keeps him at the center of everything.
Well, okay. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm misinterpreting her. It's like she's saying don't use the same tactic that Trump is using. Why not? Historically, that's not, you can't really bow to that. So yeah, if he's going to be using I'm not saying we should do the things that are breaking the law that Trump is doing, but yeah, you can use his same social media type tactics. Maybe I'm misunderstanding what she's saying there.
In the words of The Onion, maybe watching porn ironically, taking on the trappings of Trump to mock him, only to wind up as sincerely caught up in the show.
That's the big thing we got to get rid of.
Non-ironic follower. He is willing to fight, which is great, and which shows more spirit than many other Democratic leaders have shown. But his dramatic social media policy and actions with his podcast,
I think the sports issue really opened that door for me.
Raise the question of what, beyond himself and his own power, he actually stands for. And that's
of course. Okay, so I agree with her, right? I agree with her. Gavin Newsom doesn't really care. He's a corporate Dem. I will say though, the one thing about him that is good is one of the things she criticizes. Like I'm okay with how he deals with social media. Like that is good PR. Okay, he is good at PR. But he is not a good politician. He should not be the president. He would be weak. He would not do the reforms we need. He would be hopelessly corrupt. So totally agree with her there. Just a slight little tweak of what she's saying there.
It's a question we might each ask ourselves. It's not necessary to be on constant news alert over Trump's cankles waiting for him to die. Trump's health is something over which we have no control. In terms of what to do instead, I've been thinking about the Miccosukee tribe of Florida, which recently had a judge rule in favor of their argument that the Everglades detention camp that the government has named Alligator Alcatraz is a threat to their land and their way of life.
Florida officials have said that there's not much other than pythons and alligators in the area. But what do you want people to know about this location?
Well, if there's only pythons and alligators, I'm wondering what I'm doing in that area.
Yeah, Alan, I think that's a great idea. Have him be the press secretary and essentially be an attack dog or something, but that's about it. Yeah, I totally agree, Alan. You know who I would want to I might want to see as a press secretary? I'm not even joking. And yes, folks, I know that there are issues with Cenk Uygur. But can you imagine if Cenk Uygur were the press secretary of the United States? That man would be an excellent press secretary. He would go after people. But yeah, Gavin Newsom would be good at that too, as long as they don't have okay.
People in my family have been doing it for centuries.
There's no doubt that some Miccosukee are repelled by the project that Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis have inflicted on their community.
We were not consulted, and as soon as we got wind of it, it seemed like it was already there in our face.
One of them compared it to some haven of dark tourism, saying they put people in cages, in tents, and then they put up a sign on the highway with this clever, funny, stupid name. Then people come, taking photos like it's Disneyland. But the Miccosukee fight isn't some simple battle that changes day to day. They've drawn a circle around what matters to them.
Since we have been the people here before there's even this type of government around us, we've seen the full changes have the context provided. And I think that's why it's important that our voice is not discarded in this process.
And they work at the world they want to live in across decades, across generations. It's a bigger cause and a bigger fight than any one tribe member, than any one outside leader threatening their way of life. It's a fight they've been in for a very long time. Now, that fight was forced on them. But at the same time, it's critical to understand your personal beliefs and what matters most deeply to you. Use that as a guiding star by which to navigate your actions. You don't have to be reactive and switch gears with every new outrage. It's possible to instead picture which part of existing culture or community you want to preserve, to look to what future traditions and protections you want to build. Your involvements can follow from that.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Thank you for that. That was great. I love that video. I really like this lady. I might actually subscribe to her channel. Okay, guys, let me see what we got going on here in chat. Okay, here we go. All right. Face screen. There we go. All right. Let me reset this thing here. I don't know why it's not popping up anymore. Okay. Okay, guys. All right. Well, I got to use the restroom here, so I'm going to do that. As a matter of fact, what time is it? How long? We've been going for like 3 hours now, 3.5 hours. I know there's so many other things for me to react to. Let me see here. I may come back on later, actually. I'm thinking I might as well just stop now if I'm going to be okay. So we will watch some of that other stuff later. I want to watch Druzilla's thing. 2.5 hours. Oh, that's weird. It says 3.5 hours on mine. Okay, well, we can keep going then. All right, so let's watch one more thing here. We'll do that. I do have to use the restroom though, but you know what? I have an idea. Let's watch one last thing, and then I'll use the restroom, and I'll stop for the day. Okay, or I'll probably come back on later. Let's see here. I want to do the. Okay. I'm just like voicing out loud all the things going through my head. My apologies. Okay. Let's see here. I'm gonna find. I know Druzilla sent me something a while back. I don't think I've seen it. It's just a. Let me find it. Right. Find it. Ooh. I don't. Oh, you know what? Let me see here. I think maybe it's in the suggestion. It's probably where it's probably in the suggestions. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. So this Druzilla sent this to us. Perfect. Okay, so this one, I don't know, I don't think Oz is here, but Oz I know has been doing a lot of sort of chalk like based resistance things. Yeah, you guys are right. I only have been going for 2.5 hours. Okay, well, if I felt like my screen says 3.5. Oh, no wonder. All right. So let me watch this thing. So this is our chalk resistance is growing. I know that Oz has been engaged. Well, maybe I'm not going to say that too much, but there's some folks in the Discord who have done this sort of thing. This is a good little video. Let's watch it. I haven't seen it, but it looks like it'd be a good one. Let's watch. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to actually pull it up here. My mistake, folks. Here, so you can actually see it. that might help a bit. There you guys go. I'll start it over so you can see it again. Okay, here we go.
So I just came out to Diana Harshbarger's office to do some chalking around her building because I want to make sure that we always have some color on these sidewalks. We're always letting her know how we feel. And I can't find sidewalk to chalk on, because the sidewalks are already covered by people who have come before me to chalk their own messages. Good. I kid you not, the chalking goes even further than where I've been going. It goes all the way around the building. And I'm kind of shocked right now. I knew some people came out yesterday to do some chalking just kind of on their own. I think several people had the idea and they got here and other people were here. It's this organic movement that is just happened because
Remember, folks, we were talking about forms of nonviolent resistance, and art and symbols and stuff is a big part of that. So this is great form of resistance.
People have had enough, and they're desperately looking for new, creative, loud ways to get the attention of the representatives that were elected by the people to represent the people, but they're not representing the people. And so the people have had enough, and they're calling, they're emailing, they're getting nothing in return, and so they're finding new ways to speak up.
Macy, I would not be surprised if that happened.
It's such an incredible thing to see, and so I'm going to walk around the building and show you guys just what they got done, and I think this is absolutely incredible. I don't really have any room to chalk, and I think that's kind of amazing, so I'm going to have to find some new sidewalk to chalk on, maybe across the street over here. But this is, I mean, look at this. You can see behind me.
Is that true, Alan, that Florida prohibits chalk drawings on public property? I don't know how that's possibly legal. That is insane. I mean, that's like violating the First Amendment left and right. Ugh, not surprised, though.
You can see it over here on the other side. It goes all the way down, and it goes all the way around the building, all the way to the front of this building here. After I got done recording, some guy in a van just drove by and saw me standing out here, and he goes, "Keep the heat on them, lady." So I think the community is really supporting our efforts, and I love to see it. Seems like the only person who has a problem with what we're doing is the Congresswoman. Guess she's just afraid to face the truth. That not everybody here is happy about what she's doing.
Yeah, of course.
And the people are finally rising up.
Well, okay, I don't know if I'd go so far as to say the people are rising up, but there is some resistance going on. I mean, I wish there was some rising up going on, but hey. Exactly, Jonas, right? That's so good, Jonas. Land of the free, unless you write chalk on public grounds. Yeah, right? Minds that seek revenge destroy nations. That's great. These are great. Kilmer, Abrego Garcia, Pedo Protector. Oh my God, these are fantastic. I want my body back. You're fired in 2026. Oh, we hope so. We can hope he's fired in 2026. Make lying wrong again. Yeah, we deserve better. Yep. Mm-hmm. Do your job. Yep. Are you?
Go ahead. No, you're fine. You're fine.
Legal. Macy says, I bet these laws are going to be first established on a city ordinance level and then enforced or repealed upward. Perhaps chalk will be. I hope so. I do hope so.
Okay. Let's fix this. Swap out tedious call menus with 11 Labs conversational AI agents.
Hey, how can I help you today?
You're right, Jonas.
Deliver seamless support for any use case.
I didn't know that, Meowsor. That's fascinating, Meowsor. FYI, folks, they have chalk spray paint too.
So I think you got my old billing address.
Hint, everyone.
Can we update that? Of course. Let's start with your postcode.
Deployed with enterprise compliance and supporting custom guardrails, our agents are ready to scale with over 5,000 realistic voices for the perfect brand tone.
What? I feel like there's a voice.
It's time for a change.
What is that? Oh, okay. That was weird. Okay, I'll keep going here. Yeah, I don't know what that was, Druzilla. It came out of nowhere. It may have been one of my other screens, but it stopped suddenly, so. Oh, that's so cool. It's like a little egg. Folks, this is an easy form of resistance. I mean, I'm not promoting it. I'm just saying that might be an easy way to do some things wherever you may be. It might be, Macy. It might have been the NSA or something trying to stop us from watching this. Took our food. Oh my God, I love the little eggs and the little bacon and stuff. then canceled breakfast, but we are still here. Yes. Oh, still hungry. Oh, that is brilliant. Oh, I love it, folks. I know. I wish Oz was here because I know Oz does this. Well, I don't know if he. I won't say that out loud, but unless you're in Florida, then drawing rainbows on public grounds is illegal, right, Alan? Okay. Thank you for that, Drusilla. I love that. Okay. All right, guys. I do have to use the restroom, so what I'm going to do, I think I've been on for a while now. I think like 2 hours and some minutes. Yeah, absolutely. Eat the rich, please. Eat the rich. Let's let me quickly see. I want to check here. Okay. Where did I put this thing? Live streaming. Here we go. All right. Ooh. All right, guys. So I'm gonna put my face back up here. Okay, one second here. How do I do this? What am I doing? All right, so I'm gonna put my face back up. Right, face screen. There we go. Okay. Whew. All right, guys. I am gonna go take a break. I'll probably come back on later actually today. We'll see. I do want to. I need to post some more videos on my channel. I haven't been doing that as much because I've been preparing for live streams and stuff. So it may take some time to do that. Regardless, I am going to go take care of some biological needs. All right, guys. So, by the way, Jonas says, is that true, Drusilla? I didn't hear about that. That's amazing. She was thrown out of a meeting for correcting the Congress women on trans people. That's amazing. I love Katniss Everdeen, by the way. The Hunger Games is great. I love that, and it's kind of weird how applicable it is to us today. Are you coming to the tree? Anyway, great scene. Okay, guys. So you think you all know what's coming? You all know what's coming? I think you all know what's coming. All right, so here we go, folks. First of all, free Palestine. Free Palestine. Second of all, we're living in never stop resisting, okay? The easiest way you can resist is to think for yourselves. The easiest way you can resist is to think for yourselves, and that includes when you watch me. I make mistakes. I'm human. I'm just some random guy on the internet. You should always look at what other people are saying too. Don't just rely on me. Get other perspectives. The easiest way to resist is to think for yourselves. Thirdly here, we are currently living in a fascist moment in this country and around the world. Fascism thrives in an environment where people have lost faith in their democratic institutions because it's no longer providing for their needs and they feel disenchanted by it. They want change. Okay. So if you want to either slow down or stop fascism, we need major reforms in this country, major reforms. You cannot stick in the center. If you stick in the center, the fascists will walk all over you. We'll just keep having the same problem over and over again. You cannot stick in the center. We need major reforms. Lastly, here on the wall behind me is a sword. That sword is called Chainbreaker. Chainbreaker is a sword from the Civil War. It has been passed down in my family, and it is rumored to have been responsible for the death of 7 slave owners. I have it back there to remind everyone that our ancestors have made sacrifices, okay, in the past for some of the things we have, our civil liberties, our economic liberties, women's rights, racial justice, things like this, okay? We cannot let their sacrifice go to waste, folks. Please don't let their sacrifice go to waste. And we always have to fight for a better future. And on that, folks, folks, you all have a good rest of your day. I may come back on later. I'll see if I get other stuff done. Have a good rest of your day, evening, wherever you are in the world. Bye-bye.